content.
Live?
We should be live. Let me unmute it.
Live?
We should be live. Let me. All right, we're good.
Podcasting excellence.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Pack.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Green Factory podcast. Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew, back from a very long vacation.
Well, it's a time travel night tonight.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well,
Tonight we fall back
fall back to sleep.
into the arms of sadness,
And
into
somewhere,
the arms of seasonal depression.
and somewhere somebody was saying there's a scientific study out saying this actually hurts our sleep pattern, which I kind of found was bullshit to me because I was like, how is gaining an hour of sleep a night fuck up your sleep pattern for the rest of the fucking season?
I would have to have a sleep pattern first,
Yeah, I know.
and then I would have to have that jarred.
You mean screaming yourself awake every 30 minutes is not a sleep pattern?
Yeah, it's doesn't help. I don't think I've ever yelled out in my sleep, but I've done weird stuff.
Oh, did I ever tell you guys?
Nope.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, this is probably like either my most embarrassing personal confession or whatever.
Well, we're on the internet, so
well, yeah,
you can
It's not like a bad
tread carefully
embarrassing
Get
personal
that out there.
confession, Yeah.
before you blame all the Jews and black people.
Yeah, no Jews or
thought
black
that's the way
people
we were
or
going.
any ethnic or religious group is involved in this story.
Okay.
Okay, so one
Proceed.
night, having this dream, and for some reason it's raining outside. I'm in my bank's parking lot, and Popeye is dying in the middle of the fucking street light in the middle of my bank's parking lot. So I go up to Popeye and I'm holding my arms and saying, "You're a good man, I'm sorry," or whatever. And I wake up and I'm crying profusely, just saying he's a good man.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, my story sucks in comparison, so I'm not even gonna tell it.
Oh, you can tell. I don't care. I was just like, that's the only, like, besides Beetlejuice when I was a kid, because that really fucked me up when I was a kid when I watched that, because I had nightmares about Beetlejuice killing me for like a fucking year. But other than that, like, that's probably the most, like, psycho reactive dream I've ever had, where I'm, like, literally, like, wake up and I'm in tears or, like, literally mouthing somebody's name. So,
Stuff that I'll do, well, mainly as an adult. I don't know what I did as a kid. I'm sure I did weird stuff, but Stacy's told me many times, like, she'll wake up and I'll be standing at the foot of the bed. Like, that happened a few times, like, and then she'll just be like, "Come back to bed," and I'll just come lay back down. That hasn't happened in years, but stuff like that used to happen. Or I'd be in bed, I'd be standing up in bed, and she'd be like, "I felt the bed was shaking. I didn't know what was going on," and there you are, just standing there, and I was like, "I don't remember that. I have no idea what's going on." So yeah, I've had weird stuff like that, but I don't really have like vivid dreams I can recall very often.
I have occasionally, like, this happens every, like, I don't know, year or so. I'll just do a 180 in bed.
Oh, just top to tails.
Yeah, just wake up and, like, where's my pillow? Why am I facing the wrong way? And it's, like, very disoriented. It's like, where am I? I've had weird stuff where, like, the dream has, like, a considerable amount of, like, logic to it. Like, it's almost like purely exposition, and it's like reconfiguring, like, the reality of the world and stuff like that, and wake up and then, like, you have that, like, fiction in your head of, like,
Yeah.
that's how the world works. You're like, oh my god, and then you forget it all immediately.
Where's that big face on the ceiling? that tells me how all this works. My ceiling isn't flesh? Oh.
I know I've had a lot of really good ideas for like jokes and stories and shit in my dreams, and then, yeah, just like conflict as soon as I wake up, it's like, oh, that was a good idea. Too bad I can't fucking remember.
One thing I really remember, and I've told this on the show before, but it was like the only time I ever had like something where like I woke up from a dream because like I physically reacted to it, and like I laughed myself awake because of this.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's like SNL. Remember when like you had like Will Ferrell being Alex Trebek on Jeopardy,
Yeah.
and like you introduce the panel, like it's that, and it's like, and from like Los Angeles, California, Carol, and then like like Dave from Alaska or something like that, and then the third one is and the blowjob joke, and it's just a piece of paper hanging in the middle here.
Oh, that would happen. You really thought you were seeing that.
Like I have no idea how I thought of that, or even why is it? It's funny because it's just out of nowhere. Because like as I remember, it's like the panning camera, and it's just a piece of paper, and then Will Ferrell, Alex Trebek says blowjob joke, and that's pretty much all the humor.
Yeah. The fact that nobody's reacting.
yeah, exactly.
I was like, welcome. Just carrying on.
Blowjob joke. How much do you wager?
And nothing happened. Paper sitting there. Okay.
I'll choose the $200 blowjob joke.
And then the other kind of dream thing. So like sometimes like in dream, like I've been like, so I used to have like nightmares about like not graduating high school. Like I don't know if you guys had that.
I almost had that reality, so. It's just-
And so I just have like dreams about being in high school. So that got replaced by drill, like going to drill. Like in my dreams, I'm still going to drill and being disappointed by everything. Like, oh no, we have a PT test. But like in dreams, like whenever I go to do pull-ups, it's like because I sucked at pull-ups. But like in dreams, I can just do pull-ups forever, for some reason. And wake up with a confidence in pull-ups I don't actually have.
They don't do the bent arm hang in the Marines.
For women, but they actually got rid of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Although now you can replace it with push-ups, which that makes it way easier because then you can just like cheat on half of it. So all you have to do is 44 push-ups and you pass the test.
How long before it's just going to become, okay, how many words per minute?
It was weird because like they changed the standards and it's like, okay, you've lowered the standards in some respects, but not in others. It's like it seemed like they were lowering the standards for really young people and really old people, but they're upping the standards for everybody in between.
Oh.
Well, I think they had like a statistic they released like a month ago where it said like if today we had to have like a mass draft, like 70% of people would be ineligible for the armed services because of weight or health considerations.
Yeah, I mean they say that things, but it's like, people can lose weight.
Well, yeah, I know, but I just think
That's
it's more-
never considered. It's like, yes, for the people we have right now, yeah, but like how many people do we actually need to field for a draft? And do we even have weapons to give to all those assholes?
Probably not.
And no, we're not going to have a war like that probably ever. Well, never say never.
Well, another thing you got to look at too is World War II. Okay, that was a thing. It's like, hey, we've got all these people that have been basically starving and malnourished for 8 years in America, and we need them to carry 80-pound packs and go fight overseas, and all of a sudden the standards all change. You can fly airplanes and drive tanks now. And so, yeah, believe me, things would change a lot.
But so now that's the back to school nightmare has been replaced by I got drill this weekend nightmare. And then sometimes what happen is like when I jump in my dreams, like I guess I'm not like fully like knocked out, and so I'll like kind of like jump in real life.
Oh, okay.
And so like one time like I will my calves will tighten so hard that like I like fucking pulled a muscle in my calf.
Oh, you get that calf muscle cramp
Yeah.
where you wake up like, ah, am I
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
stabbed?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's
And I really fucked up my leg like 3 months ago, like that.
it'll hurt for days.
Oh man, like yeah, I got back to the gym. I was running, and like every day, it hurt. But luckily, yeah, this thing and running some more, it was fine.
What's that?
Hey, it's you just push it into your muscle, like where it hurts, and make it hurt more. And then when
Okay.
you're done,
What
it
time?
hurts even more. But then after a while, it's good.
Oh, okay.
I've seen those, but the way you're holding it and blocking my view of the handle did not look like that. It looked more like
It's a sex device.
I stick it up my ass. I don't worry about my leg.
It makes
pain
all the pain
anymore.
go away. Or distracts from all the pain.
It's a prostate tool.
See, I got prescribed that for when my shoulder was fucked up at Reinhardt, and my muscle was all sore all the time, and I couldn't pull anything or grab anything. And he was like, "Oh, just keep agitating it and agitating it; it'll go away." It never fucking worked for me.
Well, yeah, it works for me. It really depends what you have to do, or like you don't have to do it. But a thing, it's called active release therapy, ART,
Yeah.
where so a lot of injuries can be caused by just like you injured something, it's scarred over, and then like you got ligaments and tissues and muscles and all that stuff is now just kind of like combobulated together.
Yeah.
And so if you get like an active release therapist, like they'll go in there and they'll kind of like move it in one direction and then just fucking dig those fingers in there and
Yeah.
separate all that shit.
Yeah.
And then like it really fucking hurts and it'll burns. You can
Yeah.
feel literally burning and you can see like the redness, the blood rushing to where it hurts. And then after that it's pretty good.
Huh. Did not
It-
know about that.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, you probably need surgery.
Chop up Vicodin and snort it.
Or what's trying to do fentanyl?
Yeah.
Fentanyl, yeah, whatever. It's Oxy, Vicodin. I don't know. I'm out of the loop on that.
Oh, and we should quickly talk about Death Stranding before I forget a joke I made.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about Death Stranding.
What do you know about that? So recently, a bunch of podcasts, a lot of reviewers they've been reviewing Death Stranding for a while, but now Sony like allowed them to talk about it. The NDA has expired or whatever. Because I would love to like, hey, let's all play Death Stranding, but like you don't have a PS4, so you couldn't play it. And this game seems to have like wildly different opinions. So it seems like it's a game that's not going to respect your time essentially. So I wouldn't want to make you play a 60-hour game where most of it is running around being a courier. That's the majority of the game is you take shit from one place to the other. And there's
I watched a lot of. I'm interested in like the concept of it, and I
yeah.
want to know what other people who still enjoy video games think of it. Yeah, I'm not going to. Number one, I'm not going to buy a PS4 just to play Death Stranding, and I'm not going to be able to invest the time because I have my own weird shit that I do. So it's kind of like, but I am interested in. I mean, I like the concept, like the aesthetic of it. So
And then there's like some wild things like there's a lot of ideas and stuff that like they just hit you over the head with it, which is like it's kind of what I like about Kojima. Like he's gonna make sure the clever thing the clever metaphor he came up with, he's gonna explain it to you till it's no longer a metaphor.
yeah,
Like here's a bunch of subtext until it's text.
you will get this. Damn it! Put enough road signs up.
But there's enemies in this game, and it's just like regular like people,
Yeah.
because there's like these ghost enemies called BTs or whatever. I don't know too much about them yet. Other than that, like what fucked up the world is apparently there's a schism between the world of the dead and the world of the living.
Yeah.
And if like one of these BT creatures are essentially just like death, if they touch a living human being, like essentially like a low yield nuclear weapon goes off,
Okay.
and that's what destroyed America.
Oh, okay.
It's called a void out. That's what the
So
explosion.
would that kill the person and the death thing, or just
Yeah,
person?
it's like matter and antimatter. Like I'm assuming that's what he's going for.
Is that
Okay.
why the baby exists on their chest?
I don't know about that shit yet.
Rick and Morty said you're supposed to eat it. They'll give you powers.
And so like yeah, so like all these explosions basically just destroyed America, probably essentially the world, but like this focuses on America, and I guess like if you die, like the people have to hurry up and like incinerate your body to like keep these void outs from happening.
Okay.
And so like people like don't want to live in cities anymore because like the opportunity of someone dying alone and then like being touched by a death thing and exploding is like kind of high. The probability's kind of high. So people are just like all separated and like no one's communicating with each other, and like this whole, essentially you're building the internet to like reconnect America.
Okay. Yes, because I see this guy definitely has some interesting pack out gear.
Yeah.
Like he's carrying a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. There's a crazy amount of stuff, and there's like stuff to like. There's a whole bunch of systems because like everything. So like in a game like you go into your inventory, so everything that's in your inventory is represented on your person. It's not like like these 9 guns just magically disappear into some gravity pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
And what was I going to talk about? So there's these like marauders out there. So like when before everything went to shit, like deliveries, basically like all trucking and all that stuff was replaced by drones.
Yeah.
And then there was like a government program to like try to give people jobs again, and so they started giving them courier jobs. And there's this whole like system where like if you do a good job you get a like, and it's like a
5 stars on Amazon.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so like, and then from doing that there's like somehow a drug was created, like this is like a drug reinforcement, and I think they've literally called it Lycosol or something like that.
Oh, so you get some kind of chemical reinforcement when you do good?
Yes.
Okay.
And so when you meet these enemies are just like regular dudes in the game, what they're trying to do is steal your shit so they can go deliver it to the right place and get the Lycosol.
So they're like heroin addicts that want to just do a good job.
Yes.
Just like motivated UPS employees. making- Okay.
Wow, I think that actually make package delivery a lot more interesting. It's like, well, this was UPS packages until they got killed and FedEx took it.
Which just sounds fascinating and also boring as shit. So I'm probably gonna love this game. I don't know.
It sounds like there's a little social commentary drip. I mean, I might be missing the metaphor here, but I think they're trying to make a point.
Oh, and the joke I came up with is because I was thinking about like couriers, and I came up with the idea of a stupid name for a courier company, Package Joia.
Native American themed
Yeah.
coin. So yeah, that sounds weird as hell.
Yep.
Now
Oh.
I heard like, now it's not a multiplayer game, but it is.
So have you ever played well, you probably never played the Dark Souls games?
No.
So those games are single player games, but there's this online element where you do a lot of dying in the game, and you can, and like right before like bosses and stuff, if you're connected to the internet, you can like leave a message on the ground for other players,
Okay.
and then like they can like that message, and then like when you're playing the game, if somebody likes that, you'll get healed, stuff like
Okay.
that. So there's like incentivizes you like leaving messages for other people. Or sometimes people will just leave false messages like "jump off this cliff." There's a thing over there, and then you just jump straight to your death. Lots of trolling. So there's stuff like that in this game, but like it's like as you go out in the environment, you can. It seems to be like it's hard to traverse the environment with everything you have because like the world's kind of fucked up. Because like there's no roads anymore.
Right.
So like what you can do is you can like say there's a river. Like you'd have to like walk all the way around it to like where a point where you could cross it or whatever. Or if you have the tools and things, you can build a bridge. And so if you build the bridge, you essentially build the bridge for everybody.
Okay.
And then that like gets incorporated into your game. And then like if it's a good bridge, like you can send a like to that person who built that bridge, and that like affects your score somehow.
Okay.
So like anything you can put in the game, like you'll see like videos where like he's putting the ladder up or he's making ropes, like those will be incorporated in other people's games, and then they can
Okay.
like that or not. So
But
that's
they get the drug reaction.
yeah, they get to like us.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was something, and then it was like if he, because I guess your character doesn't really die in this game, but he can go to the other world. Like there's
Yeah.
something about him, and he creates one of those void zones, and that will in turn exist in the game for other players.
Huh?
At that point, I
Okay.
don't know, but I'm just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I thought that's like that sounds vaguely intriguing.
Because, I mean, if this game bombs, will it kill Kojima's?
No.
No, it won't bomb either. It's got
Yeah. I
Well,
don't
no,
think
I-
it's that long.
Financially, I know it probably won't bomb because it'll probably at least make its money back just from initial sales. But I'm just saying from like a review standpoint, if most people come back unfavorably,
No, I think the reviews are gonna be mixed. Like I remember some guys talking about it. Like I could see he's like I could see people giving this a 0, and I could see people giving this a 10. Because the interesting thing is like Dan Riker from Giant Bomb Cast was talking about it, the recent Beast cast, and he's like he loves Kojima,
yeah.
so he's like just unapologetically loves almost everything he does, and so he just like couldn't wait to get this game. He's like, I might not like it, and guess what? He did not like it.
That's why they should do a Dan Stranding stream and just have him play the game and force him to like it.
Oh, they're doing Extra Life right now, so.
That would
Actually,
be-
no, actually, I don't think they can play it on stream yet.
Yeah, because it's not out yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have the game, but they can't they aren't allowed to show just them playing the game yet. So.
Well, I mean, just later though, because they always like to do that with longer games. Where they have like a
Yeah.
multi-episode stream.
Apparently, this game's like something like 55 to 60 hours.
Yeah, that's like a good 10 or 11 episodes of Dan Stranding.
No, that'd be 50 episodes.
Do big chunks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you get people to like stuff. You just don't let them quit it. If you let them quit every like 20 minutes, then they'll still won't like it. But I mean, maybe it's just something too where it has to grow on you too. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be. I mean, there's
No,
elements-
because like what you see of the game where he's just carrying shit around,
yeah,
that's the game.
yeah.
And then there's like weird. The thing he seems not like is at least what he's pointing out is like that carrying shit around thing. Like it's monotonous, but there's like you can turn it on easy and kind of like forget about it.
Yeah.
And there's like an auto sort feed because like everything on his back, like you can not physically yourself, but you can rearrange everything on the back yourself, or there's like an auto thing that you can hit. But there's like some packages like you'll be delivering a pizza, and so like the box has to be oriented like horizontally, because if it's vertically, then like the pizza's just sliding down and being going to shit. So you have to like keep that in consideration with like how you stack things on your body. And it's just like all these different systems, and like you can harvest your blood and pee and use it as like weapons against the BTs. There's just like system on system on system, and like not all of it is explained.
Well, but for a system, because this is mostly gonna be like open world courier going place to place.
Yeah.
You're gonna fill your time along with side quests and just story mode stuff. But at the same time, name any other game that I can think of in recent memory. I mean, Zelda's probably the closest to not having to fight something all the time to do something in that game, to go place to place, do a quest, because there is a decent amount of puzzle solving, and you can avoid enemies and craft stuff and just kind of go through the game like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, all the open world stuff is either heavy gunplay, heavy combat, or something else that's not like this at all. It's not very mundane, and there's not a big lull in activity where you're just kind of like performing a task and just taking in an atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's a lot of hours for that type of game, but I don't think he doesn't really conform to doing something just because it's popular, because the rest of the game industry does it. So Emmanuel is.
Oh yeah. I mean, Yeah, he gets afforded things because he's Hideo Kojima, and so
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna love this game.
Is Hideo Kojima the David Lynch of video games?
Uh,
Or is he a little more coherent?
he's
than
more coherent, but he's also like, I would say like less subversive, but not that's nah. But like the thing with Kojima, like I said, like he's gonna explain his metaphor to you, whether you like it or not. David Lynch is not doing that at all.
No, it's all up to you. That's why I like about David Lynch. I don't feel pressured. It's like, well, I don't know.
But also like when Kojima makes something, it's like I did all this research, and you're gonna see all my research I did. And I love that stuff. Like I kind of like when Kojima's like on the nose. It's like, oh, I get it, because he explained it exactly to me.
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff in Metal Gear, like even like the stuff, the physics defying stuff, like there was a backstory to that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was all researched and incorporated. I mean, it is an interpretation of theoretical physics.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was based on something.
Yeah.
Um,
He read a research paper and he put it in his video game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, that can't be real. This is just crazy shit they made up out of whole cloth. Nope. They actually thought of that. Now, how coherent that was, I don't know. But,
Yeah.
you know, based on science stuff.
I hear Mads Mikkelsen gives a hell of a performance in this, so
Okay.
that'll be interesting.
I was hoping so from one of the more recent trailers where it focused on his story arc a little bit more and what he was doing in the world and why he was there. So
Yeah, the cast in this was interesting. Because it's a Japanese game.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff you can watch, some of the other stuff is like you just Norman Reedus and all these people speaking Japanese. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. This is from Japan. Even if it's all American and European actors and stuff. It's like that's
because
weird.
even in Japan, people know who Scarlett Johansson or Norman Reedus are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's-
And fucking Guillermo del Toro's of this. Although it's not his voice, it's someone else's voice, but I always thought it sounded like. So like,
because doesn't he just have an accent though? In real
Yeah.
life in English?
Yeah, he's from Mexico, I think.
Yeah. And then like I have no idea what the fuck Nicholas Winding Refn is in this game or what he does, but that he's in it at all is just baffling.
Yeah.
He's not exactly sure in life, is he? Well, don't the Japanese seem to have, you know how the British like they'll tolerate wildly eccentric people.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's their own people or people that move there. If you're just weird enough, if you're the right kind of weird, oh, whatever you do is fine. Japanese seem to have an element of that with how they observe Western entertainment. They seem to like stuff that like other people don't, and they kind of adopt it. Like they seem to
Yeah.
like certain strangeness. It's like, yeah, that's like us. We like that stuff, and
What?
no one knows why.
Also, I watched the F1. Well, I was falling asleep to the F1, the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah,
But something interesting about Japanese fan and like why it's great to just do a tour in Japan for whatever reason, is that Japanese audiences will make sure, like especially if it's a team sport, that everybody has a group of fans.
oh, okay. Sounds very Japanese. Say that. It's like, yeah, I could do that.
So like I don't know how they coordinate it, but they make sure like everybody has a cheering section, even if they have no idea who they are. They got a T-shirt. They're rooting for their team, and they have no fucking clue or identification linked to it whatsoever. They just make sure like everyone's welcome.
That sounds very Japanese. I read somewhere they have the most unique culture in the world. Like there is nothing else. There's nothing about Japanese culture that is derivative of just anyone else. Like because we're kind of derivatives of like Europe and other countries sort of base things off of who their antecedents were, but the Japanese are totally doing their own thing. And they seem to have a good time doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, historically, Japan hasn't had. I mean, it's had outside influence from Christians and from slave trade and from colonized America and afterwards. But they've actually projected their influence more than they've been influenced by anybody in particular.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but at the same time,
Oh yeah. Almost nobody's more racist than a Japanese person. I mean, they'll cheer you when you come to play baseball in Japan, but
Yeah, don't try to live there and mate with their women. Well, I like the thing about Japan. I heard when they were, because the big immigration debate, that's been raging in this country since Trump became president. Even though it's been a big, huge issue way before that, but it was like they were pointing out like all the nations that we're close and allied with and share alliances, and Japan's like one of those countries where it's like, yeah, we could almost put another star on our flag at this point. They're so deeply economically intertwined with us and militarily entwined with us. But it's like, yeah, you know how many people immigrated to Japan last year? This guy was just throwing the question out there. He knew the answer. It was one. It's one guy from Portugal made it in. One person immigrated to Japan in 2018. And I didn't believe it. I thought, oh, this guy's being hyperbolic. I went and checked. It's like, yeah, okay. It was one guy. But they have a lot of guest workers there. But
yeah,
to become a Japanese citizen, they kind of look at you funny, like you can never be a Japanese. Why not? Because you're not Japanese. Because that's like a concept. Because there is no such thing really as an American, except someone who geographically lives in North America. Like that's an American, but it's not like a thing. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
I mean,
It's like anyone can be American.
I think it'd be Trump's wet dream to have the Japanese, immigration policy for America.
I'll tell you, some of the problems they run into because they do that, though. When you go to a hospital in Japan, you're responsible for feeding people. You're responsible for changing their diapers. And you're basically there because they do not have immigrant labor there to do that kind of stuff. There is no subsect of their country. There's doctors and there's nurses, but there's no the Guatemalans that mop the floors and stuff like we have here. You don't have that in Japan. I mean, you have guest workers in like heavy industries and stuff. But you want to open a McDonald's franchise, well, you're going to be paying everyone $25 an hour because you can only hire Japanese people and they don't work for free. So yeah, there's a lot of things that happen over there that people are like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we were like that? I said, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be great. Get ready to fix your own toilet. And you know why people buy cars in Japan so much? It's because a lot of them don't know how to fix them. And that's considered dirty hands work. So it's like, well, my car's not running. Oh, you just need to replace that sensor. Fuck it, I'll buy a new one. That sensor. And they send them to China and places like that. They just export their used cars by the ton. So yeah, it's a way of doing things, but yeah, we're a little too used to convenience over here and having people clean our toilets and take care of our loved ones. And, yeah, that was shocking to me when I heard like Japanese hospitals, there's no cafeterias there. And they don't. It's like, oh, mom needs her diaper changed. Well, I'm a doctor. She's a nurse. We don't do that. That's your job. It's like, oh my God, really?
Do you love your parents or not?
Yeah. Oh, pretty much.
Well, I mean, they also have generational households there still, where it is, taking care of all the family and stuff like that. Because America is one of the only civilizations in the first world that actually doesn't have that system set up still. I mean, not that other people don't have, individual domiciles like we do, but I think it's more of it's all the honor system and taking care of one's family thing that Japan's known for too. Like it's supposed to be shameful to like reject or neglect someone's family member.
Yeah, but then that takes weird twists on you, like in I forget what was it, Okada Prefecture or somebody somewhere in Japan. Like 10 years ago, they were having these rash of, because police work in the judicial system over there is really strange compared to what we have, and it's like, why are all these elderly retiring people committing suicide all over? It seemed to be like a rash of it, and it's like, yeah, they just like they would either rent a storage space, or if some houses had garages, not a lot of them did, or they don't have garages like we do, but they'd seal them off with plastic and just start the car, and mom and dad would sit in the garage and suffocate on the car fumes. And there seemed to be a rash of this, and the police were like, this is weird, why are they doing this? Is there some cult? Is there some weird belief system? And then they started doing some crime scene stuff, and they found out, well, why would the people lay down in the cars and do it? That's weird. Like lay down crossways, like not like lay back in the seat, but like lay down across the console, and then mom's laying down in the back. These people were killing their parents, and then they were putting their bodies in the car and letting the engine run and like sealing off the room. It's like, oh, they killed themselves. Oh, this is terrible. We don't talk about it though because it makes us sad. So yeah, there's all kinds of dark twists with stuff like that. I don't know. I've never been there. Dad has. Spent a lot of time there. Thought it was kind of cool and weird, and it's like the future there.
I'd like to-
on the walls, and
I'd like to visit there sometime.
yeah, I think I would too.
And leave just before I didn't like it anymore.
Go there and find the shipping office and just go to different model stores. You talk about people that love building models. Holy shit, they have some model building stuff there.
So I got to see my like I said, I watched the Japanese F1 race, but I like fell asleep to it because it was like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So I actually got to see my first F1 race from beginning to end, the Mexican Grand Prix,
Okay.
and it was pretty cool. And then it's boring.
How long was the race?
It's about an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
The interesting thing with the Mexican Grand Prix is that it's in Mexico City, so it has the same elevation of Colorado, and so the thin air like really fucks with the downforce of the cars.
I did not know Mexico City was that high.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I believe it's the second largest city in the world, next to Tokyo.
And Mexico City actually gets more rainfall every year than London. Which,
Really?
Yeah,
Yep.
Mexico City's fucking weird. It's also got just a big crater underneath it, and like one day that city's just gonna fall into itself.
and also, Mexico City will run out of water in 10 years.
Yeah.
So everything's going great.
Yeah.
in Mexico City.
You can't breathe. There's no water, and you're all gonna fall in a hole. So yeah, the cars can get kind of squirrely there because there's just not enough downforce to keep the car on the ground.
Right.
But there's a lot of straightaways. So yeah, like immediately as the race started, it was just like immediately like cool because there's just a lot of shit started happening.
Right off. Huh?
Yeah. And there's one part where like Max Verstappen was passing Valtteri Bottas in like a place you wouldn't really pass. It was like usually in like those really curvy parts of the track, like you don't pass there.
Yeah, that seems like it would be bad.
And he just fucking like dove up on the inside of him and passed him. And then immediately like after like Valtteri Bottas just like came up and just passed him like really easily. Like what happened? You go to the replay and like when he passes him, so Bottas like tries to steer out of the way and then like kind of like clips the front wing on his wheel, on Max Verstappen's wheel.
Yeah.
So that punctured his wheel.
Oh, okay.
So then he starts slowing down. That's why Bottas just passes him really easily. And then at some point, like he has to like kind of like steer off the track to like get out of the way of something else, and like the tire just flies off the car. But not like
Rim and all, or just
not the rim, just the rubber. It's like it was just like it was like a sanding like a sanding
No.
yeah, like a sanding belt. It was just like flying along the track like that. But like the car was still like able to go. It's like he rode it on the rim back to the pits and they put a new tire on. But at that point he was in the last place.
Yeah.
And he started well actually he qualified in pole, but somebody wrecked at the last corner. I think it was Bottas. And he didn't slow down, so he got penalized 3 grid spaces. So he started in 4th, gets that tire puncture, is now in last place, and then finishes the race in 6th. So that was a pretty good race by him.
Yeah, it's not bad when you're like running a race car and a tire flop.
Yeah, it's like weirdly balanced because like when the car like doesn't have a tire on the back rim anymore, it's not like it's not leaning. So I'm not sure if it just had like a really big rim or if it's just like weirdly balanced like without it.
Well, I just think I think race tires in general are just thin. They're not the size of commercial tires where the rims, like half of it, the tires the other half.
Yeah.
I think race car tires are always like very slim and not very much on top. There's
I don't know, they have like different tire compounds, so they have all different kinds of like composites or whatever, but yeah, so then it's pretty exciting at the beginning, and then it gets boring, like when there's no more passing anymore, and people just kind of the people out front just kind of get ahead, then it gets boring, and then what gets interesting is in the pit strategy. It's like what's everybody gonna do? So like Hamilton comes in, and like they're gonna put him on a one stop, which means I believe you have to pit at least one time during a race. I don't think any tire will actually last the entire race, but you have to at least pit once during the race.
Yeah, those tires are probably getting up to 270 degrees.
Yeah. And he goes on the hard tires, which is the most sturdy tires. They last the longest, but they don't have quite the grip as the softer tires, so you can't go as fast around the track.
Right.
So that's the trade-off for the hard tire. And so he's on a one stop, so he has to. I think he stopped around like lap 20, and so he has to make these last like 50 laps, which is pretty much the maximum limit that these tires can do. Like that's what they're rated to do. Is like this can do like 52 laps or whatever.
Okay.
But that's in like ideal conditions. So if it's hotter outside, that might affect it. Depending on how he's driving, that'll affect it. So that's when like the next stuff, and then like so people start coming in the pits. Some people have two-stop strategy, so they're going to use softer tires, the mediums or the soft, but they're going to have to pit twice. And every time they pit, it's like at the least 22 seconds, and then plus the pit time. So like that's what you're like knocking off your race
They're
time.
knocking off 22 seconds by default, and then whatever. Okay.
Yeah. And then there was a bunch of mistakes in the pit, and that's where it got exciting too. Because there's one guy, so there's like they all the air hammers, or air sockets, whatever. Air ratchets. They have like a light on it, and so like when the tire is on, there's a light on it that goes green to say like the tire's on.
Yep.
So there's like one of it, like because like these pit stops are like 2 seconds, 2 seconds and below. Like that's the average time. If you're just putting on tires. They don't refuel, but they can like if they have. The other thing you can do is like the front wing gets destroyed, they just have front wings ready to go, and they'll just take that whole thing off and put a new one on.
And the guys run out there. So they don't do the big overhead jug of fuel thing anymore.
No.
Like because I remember you used to have spectacular fires.
Yeah.
You'd miss the hole and it just run all over the ground.
Yeah, they did that because of safety, because just so many people are getting injured and being killed by fire in
Or to
F1.
death. Yeah.
So what do they switch to then for fueling?
I mean, you just have like whatever fuel you put in your car, that's what you have for the race.
Oh, okay.
So you just have to I think they just put bigger gas tanks in, and then you have to.
Or better emission engines too.
Well, right now they have hybrid engines.
Okay.
So there's that. Which that's another thing. I don't think I explained this complication. Is that so you have the KERS, the kinetic energy recovery system.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps power like your electric motor unit, and you have to get power to that by braking and other stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't power that, then you don't have full power for the race. So that's like something you have to do.
Slow your car down to give it power.
Yeah.
Power. Yep.
You can change the differential on the fly. You can change the fuel mixture on the fly. These are just airplanes on the fucking ground out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like I didn't realize like just how complicated this shit is.
I mean, the olden days they had like supercharged V12s.
Yeah.
Displaced 4 liters and crazy stuff like that.
The clutch is on the back of the wheel. You don't have a foot clutch. It's all you have. The feet just do brake and gas. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Well, the engines are all rear mount, aren't they?
Huh?
Are the engines all rear mount?
Yes, they're in the back. They're just behind the drivers. Oh yeah, fun thing because of the power units, because they have an electrical motor in it. It's like sometimes you'll have weird like messages on the radio. It's like like don't touch the car. Like if there's some sort of malfunction with the power unit, the electric motor, they're like, don't touch the car. And he's like, he's in the car. What the fuck's he gonna do? And what they mean is like when you know they have to like drive off to the side of the road, and when they get out of the car, because there's like some electrical fault, they have to make sure to not be touching the car and the ground at the same time. So they have to like leap from the car.
Yeah, the ground out. Yeah. That's fiberglass body doesn't conduct, so they'll become the conductor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only seen that happen like twice, but it's a weird consideration.
Yeah.
So yeah, then kind of it was a cool race, and then I guess the disappointing thing is like at the end, it's like when everything. So you have Hamilton, he's at the dead end of his tires, and so but he's in first. You have Sebastian Vettel's like right behind him. He's in a Ferrari, so they have the fastest car, but the Mercedes are quicker in the corners. But like they all have, but like all the three people behind him have newer tires.
Yeah.
And so it's like, any moment they're gonna make their charge. They're gonna get after Hamilton. Like you could see all four of those guys, like getting to the front of the line and like getting first. And like nobody passes anybody in the last 10 laps of the race, and that's how it ends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because everyone's just at the edge of their durability of their tires or fuel or whatever.
Well, the other thing is there's the weird thing with there's this weird, because I've explained it before, but so there is drafting in F1, but like it's where it's like they're cutting through the air, so then like you're not getting that resistance, and so you can drive faster. But also if you race directly behind a car, the wake from the car is like so erratic that like if you race directly behind another car, you're losing like 45% of your performance.
Oh, okay.
So like their car can stick to the ground, but now like the airflow over your car is fucked, so you don't have any downforce anymore.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So it's like weird. It's like you can get an advantage by racing behind somebody, and you can both be fucked by it. It's a really weird thing, and I guess it's dependent on the track. So.
Oh, okay.
If there's a lot of straightaways, I think that's where it's an advantage, where like you want to be behind somebody, because then like you have less resistance on your car.
Yeah.
Because on a straightaway you're just driving straight, so you don't need as much grip on the car.
Yeah.
And that's why like the back wing, that's why you have DRS. It's like this like turbocharged mode you can hit. So if you're within a minute of the driver in front of you, you'll get DRS, and so the back wing will open up and let the air flow through. And this is all on straightaways, so you can go and you'll like end up going, I think like it's like 20 kilometers faster, or about 10 miles per hour faster, or something like that. When you hit DRS, so that's usually when people actually pass other drivers, is on straights, because one driver will have DRS, but the other driver won't. Because if the car in front, if you're a minute away from the person in front of you, you get to use DRS. But if that person in front of you isn't a minute behind the person in front of them, they can't use it.
Oh, okay. So they're the monkey in the middle.
Yeah.
They're getting they're airtight. They're getting yeah.
But yeah, this in 2021 they unveiled the new car, so that should be interesting, because it's going to be using a ground effect and less aerodynamic downforce, so that the cars can race closer to each other. And the car looks pretty neat. It has weird, like the wheels have like hubcaps on them, like it's like aerodynamic wheels.
Okay. Oh, okay. Like smoothie hubcaps type.
Yeah,
thing?
well, instead of like just the open wheel, there's like this little pump on the wheel.
Yeah.
Where the air will flow over it, I guess, more evenly or something like that, and it'll do something. It looks neat. I don't know, but that's not for a couple of years. So we'll be on this spec of cars for at least next year.
Oh, so like tire change is interesting.
Huh? Oh, well, I mean, I think it's just the same bolt in the middle, because F1 cars just have one bolt.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not like NASCAR where they have to take off like all 6 bolts and put it all back on. I mean, that's why like pit stops in F1 are just like 2 seconds.
Yeah. You're just driving a center nut.
Yeah.
And what was that race called again?
Mexican Grand Prix.
Mexican Grand.
Yeah, it's just where, well, I think it's Mexico Grand Prix, but that kind of sounds weird to me. So.
Yeah.
It was called the Tortilla Classic in Flower this year, not cold.
Man, people loved it there. Like they had a whole parade there. Like so Lewis Hamilton won, and like when he was going to the podium, they had him in his car like raise up from the bottom of the podium up to the top of the podium.
Oh, that's cool.
There was a guy dressed as a driver, and he had just a giant sombrero hat on top of it. So that was weird. Taking selfies. That was weird. The crowd was very enthusiastic. So. Yeah, it was a good race. I mean, basically, Lewis Hamilton's gonna win the 6th driver championship in like the last 7 years. So,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
like there's literally no one can beat him except for his teammate, and he'd have to crash out of every race, every race to actually like lose the championship. So he's just gonna get it. But you know, he did really well. When they came back from the halfway point break, you know, the Ferraris were really good. Like I think they won like 3 races in a row. So like Ferraris really put on a good show for the second half, but Mercedes ran away with it. But
Yeah.
so.
Well, I discovered a new sport this week that I think makes F1 look tame. It's not anything with vehicles or anything. It's like dirt bike track racing, but it's all frozen ice and people speed skate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was a clip I saw on Reddit because I think it was an X Game event now or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was like, wow, this is really fast paced and horribly dangerous.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
whoever- This dude-
How do you stop? Oh, you don't.
Collide with something.
Yeah, because I mean the guy the clip I watched or whatever, like there's 4 people. One guy like probably got 3/4 of the way there, and then just took a bad turn, just fucking full on into the sidewall. And the other 3 guys left to finish the race, but it really wasn't a competition because the guy in yellow just blew the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, because it's not like a flat ice surface. It's like ice hills
Yeah,
Oh,
that go
okay.
up and down, and they
and
race
big
down
sloping
it.
curves and everything else. And it's basically like ice skating on crack. Like I don't know how it's really cool, and I think that it would be really fun to watch because it's quick. It's not anything that takes like a lot of your time. It's very action oriented, and it has a lot of cool things in it because like it's not just a straight line or a simple oval. It's really, like Colin said, it's like a lot of hills, dips, and jumps and everything else. Like you're amazed they stay on their feet as long as they do.
Yeah, because sometimes I have to make consideration is like, do I jump both these hills or just the one?
That's like those. What was that thing? They have like off-road vehicles custom made, and then motorcycles custom made. It's like paddle racing, where they fly across water.
Oh yeah.
Instead of having wheels, they just have paddles that scoop water. But you're still kind of relying on a hydroplaning effect.
Yeah.
There's like hillbilly mechanics that just take the track off a snowmobile and do it that way.
Oh, they didn't take the track off. They just.
Well, no, I've seen guys on they put a different like where the gear or the rotor is in the back for the belt. They just replace it with a bigger paddle thing. Just
Yeah.
Like they just hillbilly wrench it or whatever, and it does the same.
Yeah, those are fun because it's like they have to keep going because if they stop, it just fucking sinks.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as like those people that run their bike as far up a really fucking steep hill as they can until it either
Yeah.
quits and fucking try and kill somebody going back down. And I've never got that. What's the appeal of that exactly? Like, who started that bullshit?
Just crazy to see, and it's an experience. If you're driving that thing, you're never gonna have that experience. Again. One and done. You know, it's still one of my favorites is Combine Demolition Derby.
We need to watch. Is there like a clip on YouTube or something like that I can watch? Because I always forget about that until.
Oh, it's around.
Yeah, you can find it.
Yeah, they do it in a lot of places.
Or they got like the.
Seen Demolition Derbies advertised around here, but I don't think it's ever been farm equipment demolition derbies. But
No, that's mainly like deep west, like North South Dakota places do stuff like that.
I like it's not like a demolition race, but it's like built to like you're waiting for a wreck to happen, where it's like a figure 8 track and they're all racing surfaces.
Yeah, and they can just intersect at any.
Yeah.
Gotta watch that.
surprised nobody's been able to successfully pitch a twisted metal type arena battle thing where people just have live fire ammunition and shoot. And it's
Give
like
them time.
Yeah.
I wonder when there's supposed to be drone racing is supposed to happen at some point.
I thought Red Bull's already doing that.
They're working on it, but it's not like out there yet. Because like the thing, like you don't have to like those cars like have to be like fucking weird looking because you have to make no consideration for like a human to be driving it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's supposed to be like a companion to Formula E, but I don't know when it's starting up yet.
That'll be pretty crazy, or very symmetrical and boring.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're taking corners harder than any person could, but it looks but everyone's just perfectly in sync. No one's really getting ahead. They're just kind of like.
Well, I think it'd be interesting because it's not like every car has the same AI, or not AI necessarily, but the same, what would you call that?
Programming.
Well, I guess it would be AI, but like it's not like complete AI. It's not like I can think for myself. Like no, it's just like considering a lot of things. But yeah, you have competitive AI and like what will happen there. That'll be interesting.
Or we just do death race.
Singularity.
Who doesn't want to see a bunch of murderers, rapists, and pedophiles kill each other every week for an F1 Cup? No?
I want to see people like on one side. You've got guys with like those Carl Gustav, those recoilless rifles, and then mechanical Tyrannosauruses on the other. Release them into a ring and see what happens. How weird could it get? Well, come Westworld before we know it.
There's that one thing I think Discovery Channel is doing where like there's two teams building giant robots to fight each other, but
Yeah.
they're not exactly that impressive. I mean, they're like huge robots, but like they barely move, and
Yeah. it's
one of them
very-
has a cannon, and
it's not very scalable.
yeah, nobody's in danger.
Oh, did anybody else see the new Boston? I can't remember. It's not dynamic. It's the punk version of it where it's somebody that just puts all these fake videos up with CGI of the Boston Dynamic robot doing.
Oh, the
shit
corridor crew guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or this week they did the firing range one, so they just
Yeah.
kept like fucking like pointing a gun at it and then like fucking hitting it and shit and making it try and shoot a human, but it didn't do it or whatever.
Yeah.
Even.
Oh no, he was shooting it at designated targets.
Oh yeah, and then
But they were hitting it with pipes and kicking it, and it never would move off target.
Well, and like they're
Good to reacquire.
well, yeah, and the guy would like run in front of the robot, and the robot wouldn't shoot him.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he moved out of the way, the robot would freak
Yeah.
out and go and just like pump every round into something.
I mean, it wasn't an actual robot. It was just a guy in a green suit
Yeah.
that gets replaced later.
No, it's all because somebody showed me this video. Like, we are so fucked. It's like, dude, that's made up. I mean, they might have stuff like that, but they're not releasing those videos to the public. We don't have power supplies that could make that thing move autonomously like that. I think they should just put like, coaxial machine guns on the back of those weird dogs.
Oh yeah, those things have been working on for a while.
That would just scare the shit out. Didn't we have a thing once where we were just going to release an army of those weird walking Boston Dynamics dogs, and the country we were invading would surrender just based on the weird moment. It's like your strange articulation is freaking us out.
Well, have you seen like the progress they've made with stabilization and gait and getting it? Because like the first video they released publicly of it, like it ran, but it wasn't very impressive. It looked like it was gonna fall, and it wasn't a very good gait. And now they worked on it for 5 or 6 solid years. Now it runs exactly like a fucking cheetah, and it turns like one, two.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking like, oh, this is oddly terrifying now, because now I can jump and do other things too. And it's like, oh great, this is exactly what I wanted.
Oh, what's that charging at me? Oh, just a mechanical beast from hell.
Yeah. Well, until they lose that giant extension cord coming out of the back of them, I'm not going to be scared. It's like, how far is that cord? Okay, this is my zone of safety here. Once you're to that cord limit, you're not. I feel fine.
I think those cords in those videos are not necessarily power cords. It's part.
They have to be.
Well, no, because those things have independent power, but it can't
They'll
last.
run 5 minutes.
I know. I mean, they could last longer, but yeah, they're not meant. But a lot of that stuff is just data being sent back to a
I was
computer.
gonna say, as that diagnostic purposes.
Yeah.
Oh, I always assumed those were power cables.
I mean, it's probably also power cables. But
Because I know,
it's-
like, the robots at work, those are all, like, but they're picking up trucks and shit, too. But those are all, like, 480 three-phase power. Like, they take a massive amount of power to run those industrial robots.
And I'm not sure like how these are designed. Like it could be like, you know, if it's all steel or aluminum or if they're building out of carbon fiber. So I mean that could
Yeah.
make a difference, but
All those cables where they're pumping in all the hatred for humans. Just like 28 days
Oh,
later, they're just gonna pump.
they
all
just
the
let it loose on the
negative-
internet. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, all the hatred I need to power myself.
It's just a one video on a loop of a guy fucking a toaster. Like that's all it is.
Those are our women. They're not your women.
There's a race in 40K that people actually have like stickers for now. It's called the Adeptus Mechanicus, and it's basically just like humans that inhabited Mars like forever ago, but now they're all like half machine and radioactive engines, and like they have some human parts, but they always shed them for more mechanical parts because they worship the machine god. And so it's just like a bunch of stickers saying it's like don't touch my girlfriend. It's like they're dicking a toaster basically, or something, or like fingering a toaster, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess I don't know what else are robots attracted to if we're talking male on female action, but at the same time,
They're
it's like-
not because they don't reproduce.
Yeah,
like
I know.
males.
But the joke is they're still like human, but they're becoming robots.
Oh,
so technically
yeah.
whatever. But at the same time, it's like there's a weird thing too, where it's like if you're dead, you're not actually out of the fight in that universe. There's stuff like servo skulls, where it's like, oh, your brain's still alive, so we're just gonna put a target designator on you in a communications array, and your head will float above the ground with a bunch of hoses and cables attached out of it, and you'll become somebody's assistant or whatever. Or the same thing with a dreadnought, where they just put your body or what's left of you in a dreadnought, and you fight on again and shit like that until you die again. So, not that any of that's real, obviously, but
Not that we know of.
well, yeah. We
Played
all
some
read a
Call-
book this month.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare
Oh, yeah.
2019.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I haven't finished it
I
yet.
played it. He finished it.
It's pretty good. You got your Benghazi level in it.
Yeah, that's what Grayson told me. It ups the darkness factor.
There's a pretty cool sniper level where they have like known range distances and flags on so you can make wind calls, and that was a pretty cool level.
Oh, okay.
So then you're actually using like the different hash marks in the sniper rifle. And then it was like half of the advertisement for a gun was like, check out the sniper rifle I made. It's a 300 Lapua Magnum. It's like, okay. Okay.
I think
I know some stuff from like watching, you know, Forgotten Weapons, all these fucking YouTube gun channels, like some of the in the multiplayer, it's like, oh, they're using Geisley charging handles.
are they calling back to the one big sniper shot from Modern Warfare or whatever?
No.
Okay.
This is more like that one. You just kind of aim and you hit whenever. This one you actually have to like consider like how far to hold the left, like what hash mark you're using and stuff like that.
Oh, I guess I thought the first Modern Warfare it actually did take some determination of where you're aiming. I guess.
I think it did a little bit, but I think like there was I think I tried to like fuck it up, and there's like a large window for you to fuck it up and still succeed. It's like, oh, I aimed at that guy's balls, but I apparently shot him in the arm.
Yeah, from what I remember, that it's just a gun moving in kind of a weird eccentric pattern, and you're just hitting the trigger when it gets to that.
Because like no matter what happens, like that guy's arm falls off. Like,
Well, yeah, I kind of figured. I only did it like 3 times, and I guess I didn't pay enough attention to the variation. I just figured that basically, you know, I was in the right ballpark, and I guess enough. So I figured there was some aiming involved.
But there is something I found like fascinating in this game, and how they use like weapon handling as like a character identifier.
Okay.
So like when you're playing as like the special forces guys, there's like there's an aim down sight, you know, like you usually do, but there's also a mount to a thing. So you'll like you'll like hook up to like a wall or like a corner, and you'll kind of like hold there, and so like your rifle will be really steady when you shoot it. And then if you're like aiming down sights and like you reload, like in every other game, if you aim down sights and reload, like you go out of the zoom to like watch your character do a reload. But like if you're aiming down sights, your character will just like reload, and you'll still be aiming down sights the whole time.
Okay.
Like if you were trained to do that, that's how you do it. But then there's like you play a level where like your character is like in a jail, and she's being tortured, and she like hasn't been like fed for a day and has no water. So like when she gets a weapon, it's like she's kind of trembling when she uses it. Like when you aim down sights and you reload, she doesn't stay aimed down sight. She like kind of looks at it, and she's kind of like unsure when she reloads it.
Right.
I was like, it was a weird like, oh, that's a cool detail, and it was just like a reload animation, but it adds like character to it. It's fucking weird.
Would the adrenaline technically steady your hand a little bit in that scenario?
I don't know. It's the same reload animation every time, but like, it's like, but after you spend the whole time like where you can just like reload quickly, and your character's not like watching, is not watching the reload. They can do it without looking at it. You know, it's like, okay, well, she's fighting, and so like she's familiar with some of this stuff, but she's not like a trained expert on it.
Oh, okay.
She's like a partisan fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was more like because you said like interrogation and torture. I thought maybe she was somebody who's captured that would.
Yeah, she's essentially so like this game is like weirdly prescient, because like a lot of times these games are like written like a year in advance,
Yeah.
and essentially so it's a made up nation like Urzikstan or something like that, and they have like their version of Al Qaeda, but it's like called Al Qaeda or something like that.
Yeah, it was something close, but not the same.
And like so like the freedom fighters that she's part of, they're essentially the Kurds, and like the Al Qaeda, like they're fighting the Al Qaeda alike, and the Al Qaeda alike are stealing gas from the Russians to use it against like terrorism or whatever, and then the freedom fighters get blamed for their terrorism. And so it's like the whole Kurds thing, and it's like, well, that's weirdly on point. Because usually games aren't like prescient like that, but
Yeah.
they happen to fall into that. So.
Yeah, or they have good writers.
I mean, I don't know. I want to attribute Call of Duty to having good writing, but like good scenarios, they usually are pretty good
Well,
at,
that's
and
what you get-
details.
Well,
Yeah.
when you're talking about like campaigns that actually seem realistic and jarring and really draw people into it, probably the last good one I actually played was Modern Warfare,
Yeah,
or maybe the first Black Ops game.
yeah, I like the.
I mean, those are realistic enough that they strike a chord with people. They're believable, but they also have good characters and good scenarios. But then after that, when you get into the more like, oh, we're trying to be Titanfall, we're trying to be, all over the top and like jumps and extra shit and futuristic. I don't think.
I love that one though.
Oh, I'm not saying the gameplay's bad. I'm just saying.
I actually thought that story was like probably one of the better ones in terms of
really?
like a story arc rather than a bunch of scenarios combined together.
Yeah.
But I understand why people wouldn't like that. So
Which one's this, Titanfall?
no, Titanfall's great. No, this is what was it called? It was like Call of Duty,
Advanced
like
Warfare?
Beyond Warfare or something. Like it was the future one.
Oh, okay.
Was it Advanced Warfare?
Infinite Warfare?
No, Infinite
It
Warfare.
was one with Kevin Spacey as like the villain or whatever, right?
That's Advanced Warfare. That was, I mean, that was also futuristic,
Okay.
but like the full-on space one was Infinite Warfare.
Oh, okay, that's what. Okay.
Yeah,
so-
Infinite Warfare seemed to take a lot of things from The Expanse almost.
Yeah.
Like the same kind of, the off-world people are tired of being slaves to the in-world.
But yeah, this takes a lot of real life events and just kind of like as a tapestry to use it for their own purposes. There's some people are pissed off about something because there's that sniper level, they call it the highway of death. So you just see all these cars strewn about and blown up because it's just like this one highway, and like they know these guys are coming there. So, but they call it the highway of death because it's like the Russians were just like indiscriminately killing people that were coming through there. but it's
Yeah.
actually referencing something that we did to the Iraqis in the first
Yeah.
Iraq War, but they just attribute to the Russians here. So I guess people are mad about that.
Yeah,
Because I know somebody wrote a book about that whole incident as that the Americans portrayed there as like how they recontextualize that as being a war crime. Essentially, we just bombed a bunch of civilians running away in a car.
well, yeah, I mean, it was from, I think I read that book. As I remember it, though, well, like a lot of things in the Middle East, there were civilians and military people fleeing.
Yeah.
So they just like, well, there's a tank and a troop transport there. Okay, simultaneous time on target with on a 14 miles or 10-kilometer strip. Go, and yeah, you killed thousands of people. It's like, well, wait, these look like cars. It's like, well, there was a BTR way up there. We could have had nuclear weapons in it. We don't know. Yeah, there's weird justifications for, hey, we spent a lot of money. Let's see what this shit can do.
But this is like a reboot of the Modern Warfare franchise. So you got Price, the British Special Forces guy. I don't remember any other character. I think all the other characters are new.
Right.
So like this isn't set place in the previous Modern Warfare where like at the Russians invaded America and like 3 nukes have been set off at that point. That's just so they bring it back down from that.
Yeah, they kind of break it from the brink.
Yeah.
Like the mission in London.
Yeah.
The SAS and the
Well, I was wondering because there's one guy I'm pretty sure he's just a cop, but he gets like drafted into this like highly exercised like special forces military situation. It's like he could have been former military, but I think he's just supposed to be a cop.
yeah, just Metro London Special Arms Squad or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's practically jumping out of an aircraft. I do like it when I was watching. Grayson was like, "Come here and watch this," where they're like this. This weird 5-story house in London, where you keep going up the stairs, and I like it how like you shoot all the guys in the house, and then that the women will be like, "No, don't shoot me," and then you just wait, and then they pull a gun out and try, and you got to shoot them too.
Yeah.
And then there's like, isn't there a baby or something?
Yeah.
The rooms, and it was like
You can accidentally shoot the baby and the game immediately cuts to black and it's like, don't kill children. And he fails the mission. No, I don't think they they don't simulate like blood and gore from the baby. It just kind of stops as soon as like, the theoretical bullet reaches the theoretical baby.
Right.
Failure.
But safely though, where else are you gonna kill a baby? I mean,
Yeah.
they should,
Well, it was like so interesting. Someone was like talking about in their review, like because they have the whole sequence in like the Piccadilly Circus that's in London. It's very chaotic. You don't know who is a bad guy and who is like just a civilian. You have to like wait to like look for a gun and anytime you just accidentally shoot a civilian, it's like game over. And they thought, wouldn't it be more interesting if like you genuinely accidentally kill a civilian, feel bad about it, and then you're confronted with that at the end of the level.
See, I think also the women in the hostel situation, if you would have killed the one that was like 3 weeks pregnant, you were like, no, you shouldn't kill children. Abortion's bad. I mean, if you're really gonna fucking go that angle, you can't, because that's the whole fucking thing about video games. It's all this bullshit about like, oh, this is what creates serial killers and murderers and shit. And it's all fucking horse shit. It's just people wanting to have a fun experience and just be like, what if I just kill 100 people at a fucking airport with a machine gun for no goddamn reason? I mean, where else am I going to do this where it's a safe environment where I can learn this is a bad idea?
Well, and in these moments, it's not like the game is celebrating you doing that.
No, there's no celebratory thing for you shooting a
It's
baby
only like when like
killing
shitty
innocent
YouTubers go on to like, look at me kill all these civilians.
Yeah, that's the dangerous side of it, but not just me or you sitting at home.
but like nobody was like, oh, the message was secretly sent in my brain. I must kill civilians now. Like that never happened. That was.
I mean, it's the same thing with going online and trolling people all night long, or going on Grand Theft Auto and fucking a hooker and then killing her. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. That's been part of that game since.
I played Doom growing up for hours, all kinds of the original Doom, and I never once have killed a demon with a gun. I haven't done it, so.
And if you did, the church would celebrate you.
I don't know if that would be a bad thing necessarily, but a lot of things we thought we understand about reality would have to change. But yeah.
I mean, nobody when the first when Columbine happened, I remember that where it was they kept talking about like, oh, they played Doom and they listened to Marilyn Manson. I was like, well, they also ate Pop Tarts probably. Fucking did all this other shit. Does that mean Pop Tarts are also to blame for this mass shooting?
It was
I
the
mean,
sugar.
like, it's like we're just picking straws here. We're not really fucking.
Big
focused.
Sugar quashed that. Blamed it on video games.
Transference.
So I mean,
All that stuff is what you call like. I just got done reading a book about this. Well, it was basically a book about what they call moral panics. But
Yeah.
something I always loved as a kid growing up, because I got a lot of traction with this terrifying adults, was the satanic panic of the 80s and 90s. Because I would just draw pentagrams on like shit. I mean, if you wanted a surefire way to make sure that people left you alone, and I was never a Satanist. I never read the serious literature about using magic or anything because I knew it was all bullshit.
What?
But I also knew people responded to it.
Yeah, it's like when we were kids, you could. How many like swastikas could you just randomly find around a school that was somebody just drew?
Yeah.
And it's not like they're filled with hate. It's just like this is gonna get a reaction.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I love all these. Like that's called a moral panic when it's like, oh, there's a deficit or something awful happening in our society, and we must blame something similar to it as the influence. Like we must have an answer. Why are things so crazy? And because you don't want to, the simple answer that some people are fucked up, and weird stuff happens. But no, we've got to have it's got to be a devil or a video game or music.
There has to be an influence.
Yeah, it can't just be that like, oh no, your kid's fucking nuts, and he has been for a long time.
Or you're poor and bored.
Yeah, or you're just poor and don't have anything to do. There's got to be a moral panic. Now, I will say, like some places outside of America, they had their own version of the Satanic Panic in like England in the 70s, and that kind of went far because like people were desecrating graveyards in London. Like, and they weren't really like Satanists, but they were doing it to mess with people. But they were going like, "Oh, let's disinter bodies and like set them up like they're having sex, and we're gonna draw a big pentagram on this Christian altar." And then the newspaper would take pictures of it. And it's like, obviously, we're surrounded by Satanists. It's like, well, no, this is what people did before internet trolling. Because when you live in a place, like outside of London. Oh, there's cemeteries there that are 1,000 years old. I mean, you could do all kinds of weird stuff. And just bodies coming up from the ground, like that happens. And so people.
Whatever happened to the good old innocent crop circle?
Well, this was when they were, this was in kind of their period in the 70s because they had like celebrity demon hunters and stuff over there. It was really weird. And they were all really weird people, too. But yeah, these moral panics come along, and they come and they go. I mean, you want to know who one of the biggest propagators of the Satanic Panic in America was? I mean, you'll be flabbergasted. It was Oprah Winfrey.
Oh yeah.
Show after show after show about how Satanists are in our schools, they're in our churches, there are Satanists in every large, medium, and small city all across the United States. Total horse shit. There wasn't that much Satan to go around. And most people had jobs and stuff to do. But yeah.
Well, that was also kind of back when Oprah Winfrey was like more Maury Povich and Jerry Springer.
It continued well into the late 80s, though, with her.
Yeah.
It was show after
Which
show.
is like her show is more, what would you call it, like that? Shocking, and then it became more wholesome over time.
Yeah, it just became something that, like, people in the Midwest, like, oh, this is what I want black people to be. So I'm I'm curious.
Winfrey and Cosby.
Great. I'm not a racist because I like Oprah and Bill Cosby. But I'll still vote for Republicans and make sure these people live in ghettos in their cities. But that's not my problem. That's those people. But yeah, that was. There's always that going to be out there. You don't hear about it much. It kind of everything's so fast now. Like nothing has a 10-year arc. Now everything has like a 2-week arc, and
Yeah.
you're on to the next thing. There's nothing. Nothing has. Fear doesn't have the sustainability it used to. You could go out and like, we're gonna go hunt witches. Like policemen were saying that we're gonna bust up this witches coven. It's like, oh my god, we trust these people with guns. They're going after a coven that doesn't exist. And
It's just a weed shop
yeah,
run by 4 lesbians.
they're witches. Yeah, so that's always fun in our society.
Well, Nathan, we live in a society.
Ruled by idiots.
So now go.
Oh, so.
Oh,
No,
let's see. They won their last game.
Oh, yeah, the Grayson.
Yep. So we'll be going on to the. Oh, by the way, I'll be bringing everyone's football cards to the thing in Chicago this week. So
Okay.
I haven't forgotten those. I just never got around to mailing them. So.
that's okay. I don't think I could use coupons for Michigan right now.
I mean, there's coupons for like standard, like.
Oh yeah, that's right. There is standard stuff over there.
I haven't forgotten, but I haven't, but I have. But I intend to bring them. So. Let's see.
You better, because I totally forgot about them otherwise. So,
What was? Oh, let's see. Our contracts. Probably gonna be voting on that next week.
yeah, because I finally heard the GM strike's over. So
Yeah, that's over, and the president of the International stepped down the other day because the person working right underneath him was found guilty of embezzling $700,000. So he's decided to step down now. So now we have a different guy in charge.
he only embezzled $350,000.
Yeah.
So he's a lightweight.
God knows what's going on, but hopefully our contract will be settled. Because I need to buy a new snowblower, so I hope this gets over. I have priorities.
Oh, you don't shovel by hand?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Done
Oh.
that since I was 25.
how long is your driveway?
Oh, it's your standard. It's a little deeper than most because it's on a curve, but it's standard 2-car garage driveway. But then I got a lot of neighbors that are older and can't do it, so I'm basically like doing 3 or 4 driveways depending.
You just get a gas snowblower then, or?
Yeah. I mean, I had a Toro. It's like 25 some years old, but I just getting to the point I can't find parts for it anymore. And there's literally pieces of a ballpoint pen like making the carburetor work, like springs and stuff. And but now the impellers went bad, and the things that they're welded to have rusted away. Because I used to just like take heavy, thick rubber you could buy and make new impellers out of hand. But now it's like they've rusted off, and it's just like I'm just buying. But I'm gonna get a big, giant, self-propelled 2-stage one now. I'm not messing around with this little stuff.
Well, because all the new snowblowers for the gas are still gas oil mix, aren't they? Or...
No, you can't have two. They outlawed 2-stroke motors a while back. I think you can only have those in chainsaws.
Oh, okay.
Are those in lawnmowers too?
No, those are 4-stroke.
There? Okay.
Now, 2-stroke motors, they used to be in the Toro small snow blowers. They're in chainsaws, they're in weed eaters, and they're in the leaf blowers. And that's in California's even trying to ban all those things. Because the guys that wear the backpack leaf blowers, they're blowing all the leaves and grass clippings. Yeah, they wanna. Those are some of the last things that they're allowed to have. Because 2-stroke motors they just blow black smoke everywhere. I remember when my spark plug went bad in mine. I was out there with it, and it was like, "Rah, rah." It was really chugging, and it actually turned the snow black where the discharge was. I was like, I don't think something's right with the snowblower. So I went, and the lead had snapped off the spark plug. It was like, oh, okay. And then I put a new one in it, and it just ran just fine. Then it was white smoke again instead of dark black.
That's the only reason I have an electrical one. Not that I've used it a lot, because anytime it's just wet snow, it always clogs the chute. So I
Yeah,
still just shovel.
You can, there's a silicone spray you can get that'll treat the plastic chute and the intake, and you won't have that problem as much.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but I get like 60 plus. Some winters are okay, but like some winters we'll get 60 plus inches of snow for the whole season. And, yeah, some people can shovel, but not great big fat people.
Well, I mean, we don't park in the garage anymore after the last year, so I mean, we don't really have to shovel the whole driveway like we used to. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't really be dependent on a snowblower now, just because of the sheer amount I have to do before work. But otherwise, I mean, it's not horrible unless like the snowplow like really just puts all the snow on the fucking street in the middle of my driveway, which it did 3 times last year. Which I was kind of like, come on, this is fucking horse shit. Like, chose my driveway to be the one where you plowed everything into for some reason. And it's like there's like 12 houses on each side. I can't believe it, like 3 times in like 3 months. I won the lotto each time.
Yeah,
But
I got the corner shot driveway, so I don't get that. Lady next door to me gets that a lot.
because there's 2 people on our block that are all older and have medical issues, so people do help shovel their driveway and stuff. But it's
Yeah, I got about 3 people I take care of. So
well, thankfully one of the guys that live on our block just got a nice huge ass Toro snowblower last year, so he's been doing all their stuff. So
yeah,
I haven't had to help shovel anybody out since a couple years ago, thankfully.
no, I don't get a lot of that because I don't expect anyone to pay me. I actually tell them not to because they all try. But then the one lady like really overpays. Like, I'll give you $100 for using a snowblower in your driveway for 15 minutes. That's criminal. I wouldn't charge you that much if I was charging money for this.
It's like, save that money for your pills. Biker.
Give it to my son. That's the same lady that bought like 4 of his fundraiser cards, and she just bought $80 worth of cards. Like, she did? Okay, that's nice of her. I gotta pull her. I got a stump to get rid of hers next year and a bunch of shrubs. I got the lawn tractor that'll do all that. That's exciting for everyone listening. We'll be pulling stumps next spring, everyone.
Hey, you know,
Drop your socks and grab your cocks. This is going to get exciting.
It's like Avengers Endgame. No, we don't have to go with that. We should probably talk about the book.
Yes, we read a book this week.
it was called,
On my suggestion, but
it was
Yes.
called Things Malcolm Didn't Do.
I heard a lot of things about. It's something that came up on like 4 different podcasts. It's like I never read Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park: Lost World. I also never read Jurassic Park, but I saw the movie.
Yeah.
Has anybody read Jurassic Park?
No, not the original book.
No,
Huh.
I only got through like the first 5 chapters. I don't remember that one.
Okay. So no, I thought I remember like, oh, that Malcolm died in the book, and then it was funny. Like immediately, it's like reports of my death were widely like miscategorized or whatever. I was like, oh, that's funny. Just wrote him back into the. But yeah, we read Jurassic Park: Lost World.
Yeah, so basically Jeff Goldblum was the main character in this. The mathematician.
And if I remember the movie right at all, the movie is not anyone like the book.
No, like the only thing, like I read a bunch of like IMDb stuff, and the only thing it borrowed was like the trailer scene
Yeah.
and the fact that there is a Site B. That's the
Yeah.
only thing they use. Because like it seemed like Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park: Lost World was all like
Like a direct sequel.
well, it seemed like all that movie wanted to do was get a Tyrannosaurus Rex in America. Like that's all that movie was meant to do.
Yeah.
And there's like a weird thing like aren't they trying to weaponize the dinosaurs in that movie? I haven't seen it in a long time, so I forget.
Well, The Lost World, they were just trying to get it back here for like a theme park or some fucking shit.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah.
was the newer ones with Chris Pratt where it's like the Velociraptor is supposed to be trained to use in the military.
Well, yeah, there's that too, but I thought that I remember like some of the people because there's that like was like Peter Postlewaite or whatever, or I can't remember who it was. Is like just like the, hunter guy, and I thought there was some weird like we're gonna capture these dinosaurs. We can like fight the Nazis with it or some shit. I don't know.
But no, I found it very underwhelming because of that, because I kind of expected grander scales in some parts of the book, and it was like, I mean, I should have known since the book's only so many pages, and from where it was leading to halfway through the book, I'm like, how are they going to cover this much ground if they only got so much of the book left? I would still really like the
When are
book.
they going to leave the island? Oh, at the end of the book.
I mean, I did like it was an actual pretty much total surprise otherwise, and I did like where the book was going, but it was a total.
I like the corporate espionage stuff. I thought that was interesting. Where it's like, oh, why do they want these dinosaurs? Like, oh, so they can perform illicit, like, experiments on them for like testing drugs and stuff because like it's an extinct animal. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, there's no laws about cruelty because these things aren't supposed to exist. Yeah.
And the whole idea, it's like, well, why should we like spend all this money and like explaining like how many like new technologies fail because like to support that is just astronomical and there's too many failures, and it's like, well, let's just wait for someone else to do the work and we'll just hop in and take it all. That's also some of the unbelievable stuff is like InGen in this thing is like goes under, and like all their cool technology they created is like just never used or somehow lost to time.
Yeah.
They don't explain that at all. It was like that. They like that. I'm not sure. It's written in like the mid '90s, but it's talking about like the spectacular because there's still electricity on this island, but it's like some weird geothermal plant that it's using, and like, but nobody explains it specifically because like it either doesn't exist or it's just a fiction for this. That somebody made this magic technology that works 5 years with no maintenance, and like but that's just excuse to have electricity on the island.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did say that, like, all the because it's geothermal power
Yeah.
feeding off the volcano, and that is real. But the problem is there's a lot of sulfur oxide geothermal type power, so it just rusts your equipment out. But they said, oh, this stuff's all made out of a special gold alloy that doesn't rust, and then they never explain it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hold on, that sounds super valuable. Like,
Well, I mean, they got distracted from the kids being there and the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it took me like almost like 3/4 of the books to realize that, because I thought they just like, that seems irresponsible for them to just bring children on this exposition where they expect danger and dinosaurs, and then it's like I didn't understand it till explicitly. It's like, how do you kids get here? It's like, oh, we hit on them. Like, when the fuck did that happen? I don't remember them like hiding in a crate or anything. I remember like there was a thing where they're like in the back of a truck and they're talking about like, I think the parents are talking about dinosaurs, but there's no way dinosaurs are weird. And then I didn't realize that they weren't just like in the back of a car with no windows or something. But it took me a while to realize that.
Well, I was also, the only part I was let down from in the book, besides Malcolm's actually being a realistic character and basically not doing shit the entire book. But
Well, he likes to explain things.
okay, well, the guy that thinks he's such a smart guy that goes there first and gets trapped there, and that's what the rescue mission is for.
Levine.
Yeah, Levine. Where he's downplaying, he's like, oh, I just crawled up a tree and got out of the Velociraptor's reach, and he's keeps wanting to like poke farther and farther by himself and take all these risks and saying it's not a danger to be on the island. And then the rest of the book is just some giant horror show of like how horrible the island is, and how dangerous it is in every capacity, and it's like how did this guy think there's no danger here? It's like everything wants to eat you, and there's like,
blinded by ambition.
yeah, basically, and it was kind of like, yeah, it was kind of, because you just kind of expected it to be a cakewalk for the rest of the book as soon as they finally found him, because he was like, oh, this is totally easy because I just got out of a tree and you just avoid that area at night. And then you can
Well,
just,
and like they have like parts where they're like trying to talk to him on a satellite phone, and it makes it sound like he's like dying somewhere.
yeah,
And then when you see him, he's like riding around a bike, chasing around a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
yeah. And then his plan is to walk out in the open and just take something or whatever, because the Tyrannosaurs aren't going to care.
Yeah.
As long as they're not threatening the babies or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of foolish. I don't know if that's probably, or he's adjusting the camera or whatever. Sorry,
Yeah.
look at the nest.
Yeah, because he just wants to observe. It's like the SynCorp guy that wants to steal the dinosaur eggs. That's a great name for a corporation. Like, it's SYNCORP, but obviously it's like Sin Corporation, the corporation of sin.
And I like how they also debunked the whole fucking bullshit from the movies, where it's like, if you don't move, that T-Rex
Yeah.
can't see you.
Yeah, that seemed a weird jab at the movie.
Why are they doing that? They're misinformed. Yeah, Michael Crichton's, some of his books are littered with people that are like would be border in the real world would be like bumping up against Einstein in terms of intelligence and creativity, and they do the dumbest shit in the world because they're supposedly so blinded by their passion. It's like you see that over and over and over with Crichton, and it's like, yeah, that's might be true, but this book,
Well, I mean, usually his characters are here's a bunch of PhD people having philosophical conversations about interesting shit, and eventually somebody has to like it has to become a horror movie, so somebody has to do something stupid.
yeah, that's true.
Although I didn't know that part where Ian Malcolm, right? That's the character. He's like chiding the internet about how it's just gonna homogenize all thought and like there'll be no what do you call that? Ingenuity. that didn't come off very well.
Yeah.
That didn't work out at all. And I didn't know, it was like I was trying to give like Michael Crichton credit, like, oh, maybe that's Ian Malcolm character, like that's just a thought he would have, but it's also this thing doesn't fit in this book at all. So this is just Michael Crichton's missive thrown in out the book.
Yeah, Michael Crichton was always a guy with an agenda. He never. Well, this was the first book he wrote that was a sequel to one of his other books.
Is the only one, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's ever done anything
Okay.
since that.
Well, he's like pressured into it
Yeah,
because Jurassic Park was such a big hit. So
yeah, and he was. Yeah, I don't. And this book borrows its title from another book by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle called The Lost World,
yeah.
which was about people going to some place where dinosaurs still existed, and so that was kind of an interesting. How would you say? Yeah, it was like it crossed over a lot of things.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it was weird because it seemed to have nothing to do with the movie of the same title.
Yeah.
This guy got paid a lot of money for the rights for it. It's like, oh yeah, that book you wrote, we paid you all kinds of money to use. We're not going to use it. But yeah.
And I haven't read all of Michael Crichton's stuff, but this is probably the weakest book I've read of his.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, because it's not really. The thing about Michael Crichton's books, except for like The Great Train Robbery and I'm trying to think of what some other books he wrote.
It's like Prey, 13th Warrior. That's the ones I haven't read that I know about. Like those are the ones that. Well, like Prey was one he wrote that was never turned into anything else. So I imagine that probably was like one of his.
13th Warrior, literally the 13th Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that, so that's.
Yeah, now Prey was his like missive against nanotech,
Yeah.
and it never really took on. I think he died not longer after that.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, but a lot of Crichton books were always like, we're going to introduce you to this thing, this wonderful technology, and then we're going to have an adventure story around it. Well,
Chekhov's technology.
Yeah. This one, it's like, well, we know what happened. We know there wasn't a lot of like techno thriller in this.
No.
It was just a lot of, dinosaurs are going to fight people again, and we got big brain scientists, and we're going to go out here and do all this stuff, and then we got evil people that.
Well, there was interesting stuff about like they go into the details of like dinosaurs being reintroduced to a new environment to them and like how they interact with each other. There's I like the stuff about like like why do those dinosaurs have long necks, and it was like theorized like, oh, so they can get to the tops of the trees, but it's like nose to like balance out their giant tail because that's their defense mechanism.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that was cool. Like, oh, it's an interesting, different thought that I never bothered to have.
It's Crichtonisms. It's like, well, if it's not true, it's cool.
Well, I mean, who's really going to say it was false? Because, I mean, besides archaeologists, nobody else really comes up with anything. And, I mean, he does poke a lot about that, too. I mean, even for being a book that was written towards 1990, it still seems modern enough. It doesn't really age horribly.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
Well, like I read like Andromeda Strain like a few years ago, and that like weirdly feels like today, like modern for a book that was written in the late 70s. Like you have all this technology being introduced in that book, and it's like it's still a cool book, but like
yeah, the Andromeda Strain is still, and it's a cool movie too. So,
Yeah.
it's dated, but it's cool. I mean, I remember this is the guy who directed and wrote the original Westworld. He was always thinking about something.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, his last book was Next.
What was that
Is that
one?
a Nicolas fucking Cage movie?
It was about genetic engineering
Huh.
and trans-species engineering and stuff. I mean, none of it. Prey, State of Fear, and Next were not really memorable.
Okay.
Because his last really cool one was Airframe was cool. That was about
Yeah, I like that.
and then Timeline was just weird and cool.
Terrible movie.
Terrible movie, not really an awesome book, but a lot of interesting ideas.
That movie, for some reason, I watched the movie, did not read the book, and I have not read the book since because that movie's so fucking terrible. It's like, maybe I should fix this. Like, nah, I'm not gonna waste my time.
Now the book.
Paul Walker is a scientist. Fuck that.
The book is just. It's kind of. It makes a better case for the story. It's trying.
Oh yeah, because like a Michael Crichton diatribe about technology. It's like I find that so fascinating, even though it's probably boring to some people. But
Yeah.
So
And
what
I
you're
don't-
saying for the movie Timeline is you want Paul Walker in a fast car, going, saying we're a family, traveling through time. Sorry.
it's also Gerard Butler's an archaeologist or some shit. Like,
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
It's fucking terrible.
Okay, so there's one guy that has like a really square job with like blonde hair and he's like balding. He's like one of the main guys in there too. I can't fucking remember his name. He's like on TV a lot and fucking he's in movies as like a bit actor all the time.
Can't think of
He's
that.
like always tanned and fucking shit, but I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I've seen that movie. I rented it. I can't remember much about it besides it sucked. But
Yeah. I don't know. State of Fear was. I don't even know if I read that one. That was the one about global warming, where everyone attacked Michael Crichton as being a right winger. But
because he was anti-global warming.
oh, he just basically said the data is horribly exaggerated.
Oh.
It's more of an agenda and a religion than a science. And it's like, okay, well, that's what he said. I don't. Wasn't interesting. Like his last interesting book to me was Airframe. That's the kind of Michael Crichton stuff I like.
Yeah,
Sphere was kind of interesting too. The book, the movie wasn't.
I like the movie, but I also didn't read the book, so.
It's a very short book. It's like more of a novella.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised they made a full-length movie out of it. It's like, I don't think there's enough there to get a movie out of it.
Usually shorter books make for better movies because they can spend time, like,
Yeah.
they don't have to like cut things out. It's easier to put things in then.
And Eaters of the Dead, which is known as the 13th Warrior, that one was a kind of a cool book.
Yeah.
It's set in the 10th century, and it's a guy from the Middle East who takes in with Vikings, and they're fighting these cannibals in, up in Viking land somewhere, and it turns out they're Neanderthals. But the characters don't know this, but you know this because it's kind of explained. And then The Great Train Robbery is a great book and a great movie.
I'll say the 13th Warrior is probably still like the movie, one of the movies I've been most surprised by ever because I didn't expect anything out of it. It's still probably like one of my favorite like action movies from that time period because it's like, wow, I didn't know Antonio Banderas could like be a really good action piece, and it's actually also a good story movie at the same time. It's
I mean,
like, this is
John McTiernan directed it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those movies that had a lot of. Wasn't one of the most expensive flops ever just because of its weird development history.
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
It's
'cause I don't
actually
know.
I've watched it. It's kind of a cool movie.
I haven't seen it in a while, but like I remember like liking it a little bit, but I don't have the high praise you have, so I'll probably
Well,
have to, like,
it was
revisit
one of
it
like the
sometime.
25 movies I had on VHS that I
Oh,
had to
okay.
watch over and over again. So it was. I don't know how well it would hold up if I watched it now.
Because the only thing I really remember about it is I like the part where like he starts picking up on the language. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. But also, like, it's actually well shot as far as like, it's dark, it's gritty, has interesting set pieces between the cave infiltration and trying to kill somebody, and then the fight for the city. And it's just like there's plenty. It's not like over the top gore, but there is gore in there too. And it's all fit. It's so different though because it's like everything now is so much fucking CGI all over the place with everything. I just get tired of it, so it's nice to have a good physical effect movie that has that grain of scale to it too. Because there's just not anything like CGI is so bad. Do you see that fucking clip from Supergirl that everybody was making fun of?
Yeah, I mean that's
this
Canadian
week?
sci-fi. That's kind of what you get.
No, I know, but at the same time, it's like I realize that on a TV episode you're not gonna spend like $20 million, but at the same goddamn time, don't put that kind of fucking shit out. Because that's why I don't like CW's fucking superhero shit, because it just looks like that crap all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about the story, it's just gonna look like a horribly made...
Well, that's like why Green Arrow doesn't rely on CGI at all. It just like passable action.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But when it gets to the Flash and Supergirl, I'm like, no, this is fucking garbage.
Yeah.
I don't care what it has to say.
I
because
think
it
the
looks like
Flash
shit.
is mostly good with that stuff. But I haven't seen like the last 2 seasons, so.
Well, I know Kevin Smith keeps talking it up. But
Well, he always like comes in and directs like an episode or 2 every year. So.
Yeah, so I mean that and Supergirl he started directing now too. So.
Yeah, yeah. But
Anyway, The Lost World.
yeah, like of the books I read, I'd say this one is the weakest. It's probably weaker, but it's like it's totally fine. I didn't know what to expect. I just kind of heard people talking about it as like some cool horror movie, and I wouldn't necessarily say. I mean, it's kind of a horror movie, but especially at the end, when people start getting ripped apart terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you let in saying it was more of like a horror movie than a book, I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, there was some tension, but I wouldn't say it was like.
I mean, it's definitely a Michael Crichton book. Like people like stood off to the side to provide exposition for everything that's going on for a lengthy amount of time. But I always loved that. I always liked that. Hey, let me tell you exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, that's funny. The Michael Crichtonisms with scientists is like, so what do you think we should do? Well, we should do this, this, and this because that happens, right? No, you're wrong. You know, but like meanwhile, there's like crazy shit coming down the road. But let me tell you, but you have to do that. Otherwise, it's like, what are we saying here? It kind of strikes the fine line between being mildly informative and also exciting.
Yeah.
But you know, if you want like a deep dive, this isn't it. But it might encourage you to go look for something else. So,
And I wonder if this like helped at the time it came out, where like Jurassic Park was so big, like now you have all those visuals and sounds in your head. That, like maybe like he wrote this book like more streamlined because like you already have the imagination of what the world looks like in your head.
mm-hmm.
Because like this book felt like pretty streamlined for
Yeah.
one of his stuff. It's been like Airframe was like here's a whole chapter on an aileron, which I loved. I love Airframe. But
Yeah, Airframe is probably outside of Andromeda Strains my favorite Crichton books, because it's just so like, there's always a lot of corporate espionage with Crichton.
yeah,
He loves that. It's basically the whole Rising Sun. That's all it was about.
oh, is that a book he wrote?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Is that just about corporate espionage? I just remember. Isn't that like Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery?
Yeah, it's the book is more about like, because that book was written in the 80s. It's about just how corrupt Japanese business practices are.
Oh,
And the way he crafted the story was because he knew the Japanese were going to like attack him for writing this book. So the way he wrote the story was like, this is how the Japanese attack you, the characters in the book, and this is how the Japanese actually attacked Crichton over this book. And he'd just sit there in interviews and be like, yeah, see, I was right. They're doing the thing I said they do. So he was kind of subversive with that. But yeah, that's what Rising Sun was. It was, and it kind of went into depth about like patent law and how like, what was the thing? And a lot of it had to do with Cray supercomputers. And you can remember we're talking the 80s. So, and it was like how Cray supercomputers essentially was a GovCorp that the U.S. government started in the 50s. Because there was a guy named Seymour Cray that had these ideas about how to make mainframe supercomputers. And so, but there was no way he could get enough money to to start a business doing that. So the government kind of gave him the seed money and bought a lot of his computers, whether they worked or not, just to keep it going. Once Cray became a going thing and Cray supercomputers became the world standards, then you had the Japanese would set up a supercomputer company called Fujitsu that essentially built Cray supercomputers under a Japanese name, which they couldn't sell in America, but they could sell all around the rest of the world because it's like, well, no, this is, we're not stealing their patent. This is our computer. And he just gave example after example after example of that. And then there was some element in the book about it was some made up Japanese car company where they had a bunch of cars where they'd get hit and burst into flames. But and the people in the government, U.S. government, knew about it, and they were talking about how the Japanese would, like, they owned all these senators in these southern states where the Japanese put all these car plants, and it's like, yeah, they'll block the investigation. So the whole book was basically about corporate espionage and Japanese business practices. So yeah, it was kind of weird. But it did. In addition to the fictional story about the car company, it also had like all these parallel examples of like, this is stuff that's really happened. And, and if you mention this, they'll say you're a racist, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of what's going on. But yeah, this book wasn't hard to read. It didn't take me a long time or anything. I mean, I was pretty familiar with.
I played it on 1.6 speed, which that was the first time I didn't know I had those playback options on the Audible thing. So that was kind of,
Okay.
it was like in a book read by like a 1950s newsie that was like really talking really quick.
Velociraptor came up at me.
Yeah,
And he-
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
So was that last like one good workout session then, or was that?
Oh, no, I was just listening while I was working.
Because I mean, for me, it was maybe like 8 hours of solid reading.
I think the book it's 15 hours read.
Oh,
And I forgot what I cut it down to, but it was like, yeah, it came out to like 9 hours after I put it on the speed. It's like, hey, it got this done quick.
a little more than half.
And there's even faster speeds. I think you can put it up to like 2 times speed, but I think at that point, like it.
Oh, so you're gonna do what Matt does for Netflix movies? Just,
Oh, did they implement that already?
well, okay, so this is back when the DVD thing was still a thing.
Oh, okay.
Because he wanted to get through all this queue as fast as he could.
Yeah, yeah.
So he didn't have a lot of time, so he was just doing it at 2 times speed and everything. And so I always asked him, like, why the fuck do you do that? Like, I get that you're trying to digest as much as you can, to watch as much as you can, but at the same time, he's like, I find it fun. I can totally concentrate.
Yeah, I don't watch anything like that. I usually, I mean, I will do it, but I'll scrub watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll drag it forward 5 minutes, like, analyze, like, has anything changed? Nope, scrub forward.
Still waiting. Nope.
And then you get to where something has changed, you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck happened? Then go back, watch the last 5 minutes, and then keep doing it. And then, like, you can absorb a whole movie in, like, 15 minutes. But that's because I'm just really familiar with, TV formats and movie formats and structure and all that stuff, that you can kind of get away with that with more mediocre stuff. It's easier to get away with that because, like, you're never going to come away with anything good anyways, so,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing with problem with people not trying to, or at least trying to stay in familiar territory with making movies and TV anymore. Is like half the time I can tell you what the fuck's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or where something's probably leading, because nobody tries anything inventive anymore or controversial enough. Because nobody wants to rock the boat or try anything.
Well, I'm pretty sure people want to make something interesting and different, but they aren't let.
Well, no, they don't get the money to.
Funding, yeah.
They don't get the money to because they're not going to, because they don't want to finance something that's not a sure thing or not going to make its
Yeah.
money back.
I mean, that's why sometimes, like, horror movies can be, like, terrible because it's just totally formulaic, but also because horror movies don't require a major star and are usually cheap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with horror movies because of that.
Yeah, and I mean,
But, like, big action movies, we're not going to get, like, some David Lynch $200 million, Avengers movie.
I don't know if anybody wants to see David Lynch's Avengers.
Just 4 hours of Captain America staring at a coffee cup.
But at the same time, like sci-fi kind of does.
It'll be
that.
in black and white. You know?
People do that with sci-fi a lot though too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same thing with horror, where like Annihilation. I know it's based on a book and everything, but that was a very good movie,
Yeah.
and it was visually interesting. It wasn't going directly where I thought it was going to go to, and it was interesting. Same thing with Predestination.
And that was a complete financial failure.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. It's how you market something, and I mean, you also have to know who your target demographic is.
Yeah.
I mean, because just watching, because I mentioned you before the podcast started, before Nathan was on the line, Dolomite movie from Netflix, or where it was talking about the actual Dolomite movie back in probably like the late 70s, early 80s that came out, and just watching between the clips they had from the movie at the end of the remake of it and stuff like that, and just during the making of it, how much that movie is basically just like Naked Gun humor from top to bottom. They were going for serious, but they were so bad at it, it turned into just comical hilarity.
Yeah, unintentional comedy.
But like the audience recognized it, but no critic did because they just thought it was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But they made like fucking $100 million on the fucking thing, even though no critic gave it a good rating. They all said it was suited for a blind man, and then it was a piece of shit. And then Eddie Murphy's character, which is the main character who plays Dolomite, was like, "That's the fucking review we wanted." And they're like, "Are you fucking serious? Like, who's gonna come see this movie? They said it's not fit for a blind dog and you should gouge your eyes out." And he's like, "Well, that's what our audience wants. They want to be fucking shocked. They want to be awed. They want to see horrible things on screen. They don't want tame." And it was like, he was fucking right. Like, he knew who his fucking audience was. He knew people would come out to see it. So, I mean, it's like, it's not every generation has their aliens and stuff like that, and standout movies that go for till the end of time, basically. But I mean, you can still make movies in between that are remembered and well regarded.
There's tons of stuff like lower budget and foreign films that are like doing like crazy interesting stuff. It's just not like it's not out in the theaters, and it doesn't need to be to make its money. But
No,
it's just how you're not accidentally discovering it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta kind of know what you're looking for. Who's gonna pay for it? Look at all those Russian films are so interesting. they're not even following conventional storytelling techniques.
has anybody even seen that Russian superhero movie that was like touted like over a year ago? Like,
No.
It was gonna
No,
be like
I've
some
heard
big
of it.
thing and shit. Well, it's like fucking CGI, like Bear Man and fucking a bunch of other.
Yeah.
It looked interesting just to like, oh, I want to see if they can pull this off. But at the same time, it's like, I have no idea.
I want to see Russian propaganda turned into a superhero movie.
But like other than
Last Russian. What was the last Russian movie I saw? It was the one about the guys that recovered the space station
okay.
in the 80s. Can't think of what that was called, Soyuz or whatever. I don't know.
Oh.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's Russian one I saw was I know I saw a little bit of the fucking what was the big battle that happened in Russia where like tons of people died.
Yeah. Which one?
Oh yeah, I
I
guess.
was like,
It's named after a city. It's
Stalingrad.
yeah, Stalingrad. That's right.
Yeah.
I saw that movie. Which is a little overproduced for a war movie, but yeah, it's like they turned Stalingrad into like the Matrix. But I mean, it looked really good and it's horrifying.
Yeah, they did one. What was another one I watched? There was one oh yeah, because I think I've talked about this before. It's called White Tiger, and it was a Russian movie about the war on the Eastern Front, and there was supposedly this White Tiger German tank that was killing all these Russians. Like it would just seem to appear, like it took on mythical proportions, and there was one guy that could fight it because he almost died fighting it before. And the movie kind of moves back and forth between reality and but the end of the movie is one of the most amazing things ever, because they finally destroy the White Tiger, and then the one guy who had almost died, he just takes this T-34 and his commander's like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "The war's over." And he goes, "No, I'm gonna keep fighting." And he like drives his T-34 into the woods, and it's like the movie ends. I'm like, "Oh, that's a strange ending." Then we cut to Satan talking to Hitler in German, because the movie was English dubbed, but then Hitler is talking to Satan in German about like the war, and he's like, "I know I'm going to answer for what I did, but you've got to see, someday you'll see it was right, it was all necessary." And it was just like Hitler and Satan talking, or a Satan-like figure. You don't know, it's just a guy, but he's kind of sinister looking, and it's Hitler, and it's like, and then the movie just cuts to credits. It's like, that is a fucking weird.
Well, I heard buzz lately. It's a foreign movie, but I heard a lot of buzz about it, and I think it'll probably come. I think it's in limited release right now, but it'll probably be on VOD soon. Called I think it's just Parasite, but I hear good things about it.
Oh, the Korean movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Train to Busan.
Oh yeah, is that the
was a good
zombie movie?
Yeah.
It's really upbeat. It's kind of like, well, if Snowpiercer didn't depress you,
What about the Antlers movie?
That looks crazy.
yeah, I didn't get the message there.
Wait, who's directing that? Oh wait, no, I think Guillermo del Toro is producing it, but it's like, fuck, no, the director's somebody who's like, it's like the director doesn't normally do like horror movies. Like,
Yeah.
look it up.
I watched
Well, I haven't watched the newer trailer. I just watched the first one like a while ago, but at the same time, it just seemed fascinating more so than any other horror trailer I've seen.
Scott
recently, so.
Cooper, which I'm not sure immediately. Oh, he does like Crazy Hearts, Out of the Furnace, Black Mass. Like that's the movies he usually
Well, I like
does.
Crazy Heart and Out of the Furnace. Black Mass, not so much.
Yeah, so he usually doesn't do horror movies. So. Unless this isn't a horror movie, which that would be interesting because it certainly looks like one.
Yeah. Kind of has that horror movie vibe. Sure.
You know, with all the blood and monsters.
Yeah. But you don't know if it's real or not. I want to see that Lighthouse movie when it comes out on disc or on video or
I
whatever.
think it's out in theaters now. Is
Yeah,
it not
it's-
playing
yeah.
there?
I didn't really. I have to look for it.
Is anyone making plans to see Terminator for next podcast? Or
No.
I
Okay.
was going
I didn't get very good reviews, so.
it seemed like okay reviews though.
Oh, last I saw it was.
I think it was at 66 or something, but
I saw it
Yeah.
was like 59.
it seems that people are like, I don't know. The thing I was getting from the critical reaction is that it's appropriately, it's like an appropriate letdown. It's like
Oh,
this has higher hopes, and because they were disappointed in it, they kind of give it lower scores. But it's like infinitely better than all the last like Terminator movies.
Oh, okay.
I know some people were giving I was talking to Andrew that like some people were seem to be giving harsh about it because it's like you have a movie with 3 female leads and like there's nothing done with that whatsoever. It's just I don't know, they just happen to be female. I don't know.
Huh.
So
I
some
think
people are disappointed
about
with it.
I know Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it,
Yeah.
but I don't know for how long.
Well, I was talking to my wife about that too. It's like there's not been one fucking Terminator movie Arnold Schwarzenegger has not been fucking in. Even Terminator Salvation, they CGI'd him in the fucking
Yeah.
movie, even though he wasn't. And it's like, I think at this point, not that I don't like Arnold Schwarzenegger and like what he's done in the past, and even some of what he does now, just leave him out of the fucking movie. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in it. Because he's just a distraction because you're so used to him being a main lead, then when he's not one, then it becomes disappointing again, or disappointing that they just can't chuck Arnold Schwarzenegger out the door and not have him in the fucking movie.
You have to
Because,
keep
yeah.
explaining why his robot is aging.
But also, then, like Conlon said, you distract from the 3 main female characters that are supposed to be leads. One of them is supposed to be a leader, when none of them turns out to be. Then you wonder why the fuck the story matters at all, because is the guy or is the person chasing them the lead of the movie? Like, are we centered on him the entire time? No. So who the fuck is the lead of the movie? Is it Arnold again? Is Arnold the fucking driving force of that fucking movie?
I think I don't know. Cause like I just assume Arnold's a robot in this movie, but also like I heard rumor that he isn't. But he just sounds like a robot, and he seems okay with Sarah Connor's gonna kill him at the end of the movie. I understand. Kill me.
Please.
I mean, I really
You
want to
must
see
you
it.
must
I don't...
take me out of this movie franchise.
I mean, for the clip I saw, he definitely seems like a machine again. So
Yeah, but I thought it, like early on I read some stuff and that could have been pure speculation that he was supposed to be like the guy that Skynet based all the T-100s on. So he like, but
well, the clip I saw when so the thing chasing them that's like half exoskeleton, half T-1000 or whatever.
yeah,
Like fucking, they're shooting him full of bullets, and the helicopter crashes. He jumps out onto the plane, and then Arnold just fucking body slams him and stays on top of him, and fires into his
Yeah.
fucking head at full auto. That doesn't seem like something a human being could do.
yeah, it seemed like way more powerful there. But also you just never see like like the torn face Arnold with like the
Yeah.
exoskeleton underneath. Like that's gonna be there at some point. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the trailers.
Maybe we just missed him dosing on roids before the plane took off. Who knows? But wasn't there something else that came out this week that was? I mean, Jojo Rabbit did like wide release last week or this week, but it's not coming out anywhere around here, as far as I know.
I don't remember. I thought I looked at Rotten Tomatoes. I think there's just some indie stuff coming out, but I think everybody's getting out of the way of Terminator.
Local 58 published a new video on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, we just talked about them last week, and they had posted a video for like a year or so.
Yeah.
Oh,
Halloween.
Motherless Brooklyn. That's the movie directed by Edward Norton.
Oh, the Edward Norton joint.
Yeah.
Oh,
That looks interesting, but also got like
middling reviews.
middling reviews. It's 63 on Rotten Tomatoes. Terminator's 69. It's nice.
Well, you know how Edward Norton isn't loved by Hollywood very much. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Oh, it was God damn it, the Shining sequel.
Oh, Doctor Sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep.
I think that's next week.
Oh, it's next week. I thought it was this Friday.
I mean,
'Cause it's closer to Halloween. So
yeah,
that's what-
yeah. So yeah, it's this Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because that was the
I
other.
mean, that's what I meant by next week.
Okay, so that was basically the two fucking movies I really wanted to see. I have no idea if Doctor Sleep is even going to be any good.
I hear good. The preview buzz seems good, but that can totally always be shit and propaganda. So.
So I mean, if you want to go see one of those movies with me, I'll be up for it. But yeah, other than that,
I mean, probably not this week, but.
Yeah,
the
we're
week
going
after
me and you will meet in Chicago this
that.
week.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask when that was because obviously, if you're talking about seeing him in Chicago, it's gonna be at some point. You meeting for anything particular, or just meeting?
Death in the Family.
Oh, sorry.
Just suddenly bummed. I bought tickets to an AEW show.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, Thanksgiving one or?
No, the week after that, the one in at the University of Illinois.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be going to that.
Oh, okay.
I've enjoyed every show they put on so far, so hopefully I don't go to the one that sucks.
Well, I'd hope not too, because because tickets didn't seem very bad, and it seemed like it was a decent availability and stuff.
Yeah, I got it was like the first row of like bleachers. That's the seats I got. So
I mean, I definitely would have gone with you if I had vacation, but I don't have that.
yeah.
So
Well, this is like the closest they'll get to me, because I think because they've been mostly on the East Coast and the South, and I think eventually they're going to start, and next year they're going to start moving to do West Coast shows, but like I don't think they're going to do anything in Iowa. They'll probably do something in Minneapolis, but that's still like how far is that away? Is that like a 3-hour, 6-hour
it's
drive?
pretty much about the same as Chicago. So
Okay,
you know,
3 hour
you
drive.
just don't have any toll roads to go in there. So
Oh.
that's the main draw.
Just a bunch of potholes.
Yeah.
Tow roads or potholes.
I mean, that's the only thing I mean, I don't mind big cities at all. I don't like Chicago that much, but at the same time, it's just all the tolls and paying those.
Well, that's why I didn't want to go to the Chicago Thanksgiving show because like I didn't know like how that gamble would work out. I was like, is everyone going to be leaving Chicago or going to Chicago? I don't know. So I went to the Champagne
Yeah.
show because I figured like, well, I'm not going to Chicago, so I don't have to go through all that fucking
Just-
traffic.
where is Champaign, Illinois? At?
It's like more towards the center.
Okay. Because I know where Louisville, Illinois is at. I've never been there, so I mean, I have no idea what the crowd will be like either. Because you could get a big draw from the whole state.
Well, it's
or-
it's where they play basketball. The Illini play basketball.
Oh, okay. That's pretty decent size.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of college venues.
If only they'd come to like Iowa City, that'd be awesome. Because it'd be a short drive. And
I just kind of, I mean, that'd be nice. I just kind of doubt they would because I believe they based all the venues they've been going to based on pay-per-view sales. It's like, oh, if pay-per-view sales are strong there, then we're gonna go there. And also, they've been going to like really, like kind of obvious cities. Like Chicago is like a really good market for wrestling. Like like a lot of people. There's a lot of Chicago fans, Chicago wrestling fans, and then like one of the biggest one is like Philadelphia, because that's probably like the most like hardcore fans of Philadelphia, because that's where like ECW started. So and just New York in general is kind of a big area for, and like Baltimore.
how about Milwaukee? If they have one?
I don't think so. I mean, there's shows everywhere, but it's just like, can you get 8,000 people to go to your show everywhere?
Maybe in Des Moines you can get 6 or 7. I don't even know about 8. I mean, I think you could probably get that. I mean, because they're not
Well,
going to go
I don't-
anywhere in South or North Dakota or fucking.
I mean, like WWE will come here, but they won't come here to do like a TV show.
No.
Like they'll do house shows here. They do shows in Davenport too, but like they never do like TV tapings there. So
Because are you ready, crowd? Yeah. I mean, woo. No, I mean I get that they want the most people and they want a loud and energetic crowd because obviously they're not going to sell it very well on TV when it's like, look, half the crowd's awake tonight. We got a good night, people. But at the same time, it's like NXT. What they used to put on their website was just their little small thing in Florida.
yeah,
And that used to be fine, and I got pretty good ratings, I thought, for what they put online and stuff. They didn't have, I mean, it wasn't like the same quality matches as their pay-per-view stuff, but it was
Yeah.
still pretty good matches. They were also testing out new things, and it was something you could see you probably wouldn't see anywhere else.
although they're coming back to that arena that we were at to do War Games.
Oh, really?
It's in November.
I always kind of wonder with the one you're going to. I'm interested to see what the prices will be there for all this shit again. If the ticket prices were a little bit better, if like the vendors are going to be as gougy as the one we went to.
I don't think so, but I don't know because I usually, so like a tradition of like how the merch stuff went like at the indie shows.
Yeah.
It's like they bring their own shit, and it's like, especially at really small venues, like all the wrestlers are in the ring and they hang their shirts on the ropes, and like people hand you a 20 and you hand them a T-shirt, and that was like a thing they did.
I like that, but way better. Then I'll hand an old lady $35 for a T-shirt I could buy online that same day for $15.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, I'm probably gonna buy shit at the show. It's like, oh, that's a dumb shirt. I guess I'll waste money on that. I wasted so much money on their dumb
hey, that's
wrestling
what I
t-shirt.
that's what I fucking did at the show we went to. I mean,
Yeah.
shit, you're there. That's what you're fucking supposed to
Yeah.
do. Except for those goddamn belts. Fuck that. I ain't paying $500 or $600 for a fake belt. It might as well just like put my gold on my front teeth or something. Or do something otherwise idiotic and showy.
They,
Get a face tattoo.
WWE recently, they just did their Crown Jewel show in Saudi Arabia again.
Oh yeah.
That was, and they actually had women wrestle in one of the matches.
Oh boy. Really?
They
And the
can't.
costumes they wear, or did they do something?
No, they had. They had like full body costumes, and then they had to wear like T-shirts on top of it, so they wouldn't be form fitting, or they would hide the form.
Yeah.
But they didn't have anything on their head. Their head was fully exposed. They had the hair all out and all that shit.
Okay.
Although when Natalia was making their entrance, somebody threw a water bottle towards her.
Did the crowd seem more into the women's match than the
Yeah.
rest of the matches?
They had a really good crowd, because usually like these shows it's like bored Saudi princes in the
Yeah.
front row not reacting to.
And that's why I was asking, because you talk about the last one where it's like just people bored because they're just
Yeah.
rich and just want to fucking do something different.
It was a really good crowd. I'm not necessarily gonna say like, hey, you should watch this. It's a really good show. No, but it was a really good crowd. They seemed to enjoy it. Yeah, I thought it was funny. So like, it was Natalia versus Lacey Evans, and they're like, who do you think's gonna win? It was like, well, there's no way they're gonna have Lacey Evans win with her finishing move. It's called the women's right. Although I thought because they had a fiend match there, and they're like, well, maybe they're gonna be sensitive and not have him walk out with a severed head lantern because Khashoggi. I was like, no, they went ahead and did that. There's no thought about that. But at least they had the fiend win, so now he's the champion, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Vince McMahon, I don't think has ever been one for subtlety or taste.
No.
Or observing other people's cultural flaws. But
He
yeah.
might be our vice president. 2020.
But then there was some weird thing that happened after the event where, like, the flights got delayed, and maybe it was like a quasi hostage situation. No one's talking about it. But like people who had like private jets, they got the fuck out of there fine. But like the people who need to fly, like they said it was just a mechanical issue and then the weather issue. But then there'd be a lot of contravening reports, and so it was like a political thing. It's like so that got weird for a moment. But then all the wrestlers came back, but they were late because the next night they're gonna have a show in the SmackDown show. I think it was in like Kentucky or some shit like that. But all the talent was held up in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
So they flew like a bunch of the NXT talent down to do the SmackDown show. They did like an invasion angle. And apparently it's like one of the best shows of the year. And it was just like they pulled it out of their ass.
That's amazing. That stuff.
But they'll probably fuck it up. That's why I canceled the WWE thing. Because like, it's like, because they'll do a run of good shows, and then it'll just suck forever. It's like, imagine like a new show came out, and like the first 4 episodes were awesome, and then the next 4 were shit. Would you ever watch that show ever again?
Yeah, that would kind of be that. Once I stick my hand in the fire, I'm not doing it again.
But like I hear so much about that show. Like now I want to watch it. Now it's like, no, don't do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Don't let them pull you in.
I mean, you got that NXT War Games is gonna be here in 2 weeks. It's like, hey, maybe we should get tickets and go. But like, no, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm gonna drive an extra hour to go to an AEW show.
Yeah. Just
No,
can't-
I'd be really interested to see an AEW show now that we've been to a WWE show. Cause
Yeah.
I kind of want to see what the difference is between the two. Because I would say I definitely enjoyed the WWE show. I just didn't enjoy. I wish the seating was different because
Yeah.
I found it to be uncomfortable and
Yeah,
too
yeah.
crowded.
Yeah, I was amazed like how much of a good time I had and how terrible of like seats we had. I mean, they're only terrible because like I was sitting next to some guy who was very large, and not necessarily because he was fat. He was just a large person.
Yeah.
He was tall. He was big. He fit 2 seats, and I was sitting next to him.
Almost that and the guy up behind it or in front of us that had the fucking giant flag for Chicago. that kept-
No, it was the guy next to me.
Oh, okay, so he.
He was the guy. He was on the spectrum, and
Yeah.
he chanted at odd intervals.
Awesome.
But he was a big fan. I talked to him a little bit,
Yeah.
I just got up to like walk around sometimes just to stretch my legs and get off the day.
Yeah, I mean that's why I gave you guys the outside seat so
Oh.
you could, especially for your wife, so she could like step out and look at the thing. but then you just end up looking at the
Jumbotron.
the jumbotron the whole time to watch the show. It's like, oh, this is weird. We're like 30 feet from the action, but I can't see shit because people are standing up the whole fucking time.
Yeah, that's why my wife insists on being on the front row of anything if we go to live stuff because she can't see otherwise.
I mean, I would like to be front row of the WWE, but the prices for the front row shit is
No, I
fucking
know. That's why I'm like,
astronomical.
don't fucking pay that because it's fucking horse shit.
I mean, and it was like reasonable for NXT stuff. It's like all the things we paid for the NXT show. I mean, except for the merch, it's probably the same price. But like those seats
Yeah.
would be 3 times as much for the WWE show
Yeah,
for the same
that's
seats.
fucking crap because you don't get anything better. Everybody's still crammed in like sardines and hard
Yeah.
fucking chairs.
And the NXT is a better show. It's like less money for a better show.
Yeah,
It's like
I'm
easy.
I mean, not that I don't think it was fair. I mean, we did buy you a nice lunch, or at least nice-ish
Yeah,
And then,
you
buy
paid
you,
for
like,
gas and all the
travel expenses,
yeah.
and fares and shit, and then fucking. I mean, I did buy you like a glow stick and something else.
Yeah, you got the NXT pamphlet things
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever that has all the alumni or whatever.
I mean,
Hey.
the only reason I'm glad I didn't buy you a shirt is because I didn't drastically overpay like I did for my shirt. So,
You don't want to spend $100 on 2 shirts.
yeah, basically. But no, it's. I mean, I hope AEW is better in that regard too. I mean, I know it's going to be definitely Gouge City as far as like what the actual going rate. For
Yeah, I
stuff is.
don't know. I mean, they're.
But it's-
I mean, because WWE, like, they can command those prices because they just have no competition. But now they do have competition. But I doubt they're lowering their prices.
No.
AEW, they're a startup, so they probably can't gouge as much.
Well, I hope not.
Because like their ticket prices are like probably they're about the same for what NXT.
Yeah.
Like they have like, it's like, I mean you get like those VIP packages. I think the most they go is like $800, but that's like you're getting like meet and greets and a chair and shit like that.
Yeah, that's pretty decent for that.
Yeah, because like to do the same thing for WWE, that's like $3,000, and people are paying that shit.
I wonder if anybody's ever paid $3,000 and walked up to somebody and didn't say to their favorite wrestler, "You're my favorite actor." And, like, you really sell it when you put that elbow into his face. It's like, I really believed it was real. And then they're like, "Oh, you don't think this is real, huh?" And it was-
Yeah, I was watching like a CM Punk. He was he was doing promotion stuff for his new movies in The Girl on the Third Floor, and he was like evaluating wrestling movies, and that was pretty interesting. But he's sitting there talking about it, and, like, you know, like, yeah, that's real, that's what we do, and stuff like that. And he's like talking about something, and the interview was like talking to him, and it's like, so like, does that hurt? It's like, oh yeah, it's all fake and it all hurts. It's a real conundrum.
No, because I respect those guys and what they do. They do a lot of stuff that looks really cool and goes off well, or doesn't go off well and still looks cool and
Yeah.
still hurts. And I get it. I mean, you can't have. I mean, everybody even thinks like professional NFL football that looks like it really fucking hurts is all scripted too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't just be generally realistic, regardless of the sport you play. So, I mean, I believed it was realistic when I was a kid, but that was before I realized what the fuck scripting was and all this other shit.
Well, that's why you got people that, like, they come from sports where it's like, you know, they're no longer the top of the game, but they'll like become a wrestler, and it's like, it's not like, you know, it's like you can do that because the stuff can be prepared and you know, scripted, and it's not all of a sudden. And so, like, you know, if you do that stuff well enough, like, you can do this thing that like really hurts for a really long time, because if it's coordinated well, then you're not getting knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, you got to make the damage cumulative,
Yeah.
not just all at once.
Or at sudden and unexpected.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, I would never have another problem with going to a wrestling show. It's just that it didn't work out this time.
Yeah, no, it's like, well, like, I have Wednesdays off, so it's like, well, fuck. And like, this is like my least opportunity. Also, I found out how to sell stock from my Walmart stock, so that helps.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you get so many shares every year or whatever.
Well, no, it's like I have a thing where it's like I devote $3
To buying shares
every and then they like match a percentage. So it's like I spend $3, Walmart kicks in 45 cents, and then
eventually over time.
yeah.
'Cause
Well,
how many shares do you own now?
well, I sold 10. I have 27. When and like the first time, they used to be like $50 or $40.
Yeah.
Now the share price is like $150 or $117. It's like, fuck it, sell.
See, that's the only thing I've never understood about buying. Because when you buy like a single share of stock, yeah, it's that price. But when you buy it gradually up to a single share, how do you value that share of stock?
So you can buy a percentage of a stock.
Oh, okay.
Because I own like 20, or it was like 27.065% of a stock, and you can sell that percent of a stock. It's fucking weird. But there's something like, for tax purposes, you have to choose how you want it, and it's like FIFO or FILO, and it's like first in, first out, or first in, last out. And I tried to see the difference, and I just chose FIFO because I didn't fucking know.
The only thing I know about FIFO and FILO is all inventory related, so I never learned the stock market implications of that.
Yeah, it's like there's advantages and disadvantages based on how it sells and how you have to pay it on taxes afterwards. But
I mean, hopefully your gain from selling 10 shares isn't that much taxes, but considering
It's taxed at 42%. I think.
for stock gains,
Yeah, for gains. Yeah.
okay. I guess I didn't know if it worked like income, where it had to be so much money and then a certain percentage.
Not if it's speculation. No.
Because I know I got fucked on taxes last year, and I'm not looking forward to this next year because the Fed changed its inflation statistic and how they write up inflation every year now for how much the income brackets go up. So now they're actually doing compounded projection inflation, which basically means now they're not just generalizing inflation and assuming everything goes up. They're actually targeting certain items and products. So now you won't see as big a jump every year in the income you can make. So like last year, I think it was almost $79,000 you could make to stay in my income bracket, and now it's like $80,500. So it only went up like $800, $700 instead of like a $1,500 jump like it usually does. And they said they're changing the standardized deduction to plus $400, which would be nice, but I'll probably make more than that this year with my wife's income combined, so I'll probably get fucked again. So
yeah, I'm not gonna get as much this year because like I was getting like almost like $3,000 every year just for going to school. So obviously I was spending more than that to go to school, but now I won't get that. So now I'm probably gonna have to owe taxes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean-
usually break even or pay in a couple thousand.
yeah, I think the state of Iowa will still let you write off student interest debt and shit too. Because the Fed, you can't do that anymore either.
No,
Oh.
well, I mean, because Jeff Bezos can't afford to pay any taxes. Remember?
Neither can Trump, since now he's a resident of Florida.
Yeah.
Because fuck that.
Yeah, like
guy.
somebody said, like it's like I don't want to pay taxes there, and it's like, well, good riddance. You never paid tax here anyway.
Oh no, what will we do without you avoiding taxes in New York?
All right.
All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.